Hello everybody and welcome to Let's Build. Today we have a very special guest. We have Gary from Oak Hill. Some of you may have seen some of his videos. I can highly recommend subscribing. My name is Linny and let's build.
Hello everybody, we are live. How are we all in this post-Uckfield show world? It is good to see so many people here already. You are all fabulous. Thank you very much for coming. So tonight we are going to be looking at some of Linny's laser cut kits, which are absolutely wonderful things. They are absolutely fantastic, and here we have some. So as we can see, this is an SER van. So we have some nice side panels. We have some nice ends. We have a chassis and underframe detailing. We even have a floor that's fallen out, along with a roof and the associated ironwork required in much thinner parts, as these are done on card as opposed to the MDF of all the other bits, giving you some absolutely fantastic detail. And hopefully my chatbot is now up. It is up and working, and I can finally see what you are all saying. I'm okay, thanks. Hope everyone else is in better health. I am in good health tonight, thank you. Gosh, did I miss the i3 painting last week? You did not, James. I was hoping someone would pick up on that. That is not the i3 we have been building. That is an i3 that has been built some time ago and has been taken away to be detail painted, lining, etc. by Linny, and so has come back to me this weekend and is absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait to have the other one looking like this. I will hopefully be able to do it as good, but I will not guarantee anything.
You flatter me, Gary. The transfers have gone on. The loco is looking pretty much finished. All that needs to go back onto it at this point is handrails and a motor, and it'll be ready to work away on Oak Hill or on any of your other layouts. So
let's see what else we've got in chat going on. Woo, Linny, that's not Gary from Richard. It is not indeed. Nice job, Linny. Who's Gary? Yeah, thanks, Harry. Appreciate it. How Linny-tastic, indeed. Did the Uckfield show go well? The Uckfield show was fantastic.
Absolutely brilliant.
I approve of wonderful things. I'm glad you approve, James. We do need to get an I approve command set up for you, don't we? Gosh, laser cut rolling stock, indeed. Hello, Max. Good to see you here. Hope you are well. Goodness, I thought they were only used for buildings. Oh, we have built some Linny carriages before, which were laser cut. Unfortunately, I haven't got them to hand, as they are in my kit drawer. There is, however, just passed to me, a laser cut building by Linny, of course. This was something I had specially commissioned for Oak Hill to cover a surface point motor, and is a fantastic bit of work. If you want anything laser cut, Linny is indeed your person.
You are flattering me again, Gary. It was intended to be a nice, simple thing for you to cover your point motor with and to fit in with the building you had there before that was unfortunately damaged. And I think it fits in quite nicely.
It fits in beautifully. Hello, Tom. Welcome. You have made it for the start. I have not caught up with chat yet. That's how early you are. It was great to meet you today and get to chat. I'm very excited for the things we did chat about today. Very nice kits. Why aren't they on your website, Linny?
I'm still working on the instructions for some of these at the moment. I'm going to be talking Gary through building the southeastern van. The instructions are up for the Stroudley van, but which I'm hopefully, if we can get through this one, Gary can have a look at a little bit later in the stream. But once I've got instructions, I'll be putting this up along with a South Eastern Railway open wagon and a London Brighton and South Coast open wagon as well.
Right, Max says, good evening back. James, goodness me, card and wood model wagons. Yes, indeed, James. They do need a bit of weight adding, obviously, because they are very light, but they are wonderful wagons and they are very, very good runners when they are done. Once again, that is down to Linny with the design work, who, of course, I am flattering yet again, but it is all well deserved. Richard asked what other kits you brought down, Linny.
Well, I brought down with me, I brought down the South Eastern Railway open wagon, the Stroudley van and the London Brighton and South Coast open, and we've got a brake van as well. Speaking of brake vans, this man here, Gary, has been teaching me to do white metal soldering on a kit that was bought at Uckfield, and so I bought myself a Billington brake van, a 6-wheel brake van from the London, Brighton and South Coast Railway. Is it focusing? Yeah. And with Gary's tutoring, I managed to put this entire kit together by soldering it. So it'll be an interesting comparison when Gary builds the laser cut one to see this compared to that.
Christopher's Model Railway says hello. Good evening, Christopher. It is good to see you here. I hope you are well. Smash that like button, folks. Show support for the first ever Coast-hosted stream. Thank you, Alex. Well said. Everyone should be smashing, or perhaps gently tapping, that like button. Intriguing i3. Thank you, James. Richard says, is that the one I seen on Tuesday?
Yes, I had it down at the club in back up in Edinburgh before I came down for Uckfield, and that was quite a long journey, but it was well worth it for the show. The lining's now finished on it, the lettering's now on it, and it's now with its owner.
Here's me rushing in and Alex is here. Indeed, Christopher. Alex made it home in time to be here for the stream. Matt's more, are you trying your best is the only thing you can do. Matt Higgs says good evening. Good evening, Matt. It was great to meet you yesterday as well. Thank you for coming over and introducing yourself. I hope you are well today. Christopher, I saw you had Leicester Central was there today.
Wasn't aware of Leicester Central being there, I'm afraid. But,
yeah. James Pets, I approve. Indeed, we need to get that command set up, don't we, James? Robert says, good evening again, James. I missed the Linny-tastic carriages. Yeah, they were I think they were the second project, and we built the carriage in a single stream much quicker than I expected to, because they go together so well.
Well, just wait until you ever go at one of the wagons. I know these ones go together even quicker than the carriages.
Seen that splendid building? It is indeed, isn't it, James? It is excellent. I was so happy when Linny delivered that. That was actually Uckfield show last year. That got delivered to me. Oh, Ian, welcome. Good evening all. Glad to see show's gone well. As the i3 lined with transfers looks wonderful. That is my previous i3, Ian, which is lined with your transfers. Linny lined this one for me, and they are your transfers, and they look wonderful. So all credit to you there for the transfer work, Ian. I hope you are well this evening.
Indeed, those transfers are absolutely wonderful, Ian. I believe they were your work, and they are by far the easiest lining transfers I've ever worked with. They don't fall apart. They always go on straight. Very much approve of those. So thank you for selling me those to put on this model.
Linny's made me a 00 gauge Y9 tender truck, lovely model to build. Yes, Richard, Linny was telling me about that yesterday, in fact, we were discussing these things, as I have a model of Kelton Fell, which I made a tender truck to go with some years ago. I scratch built mine out of an old Triang 7 blank once upon a time. Properly, fair enough. It's like for that. Wonderful wagons are the best sort of wagons. Yes, they are, James.
Apart from the Pico ones, they are wonderful wagons. They're very, very hard to build square. They tend to be more wobbly wagons, in my experience.
Yes, well. Tom's, yeah, it's good to see you too, and everyone else. I don't get out and about enough stuff like this. Well, honestly, Tom, Uckfield is one of very few shows I go to, although I have been asked if I would like to accompany the guys that had Lambourne in P4 to their next show in Portsmouth in a few weeks, and again to Southampton in January, as I helped them out with their layout earlier in the year. And I mean, it is a wonderful layout to operate, so as long as I can get babysitters, I will be out to 2 more events in the near future. Maximum getting BSNF NCL, but GP38 number 3001, super exciting, very expensive for $75. Yes, I saw the picture on Twitter, Max. I haven't really had time to respond yet, but I have seen it and it looks awesome. Hopefully we're more official. What a delightfully dinky 6-wheel van. Yes, James, they were originally built as 8 and 10 ton vans, which were 4-wheeled. When heavier vans were needed, the design was modified and had the middle axle added to spread the weight over 3 axles rather than 2 at 20 tons. Words, please. Mm-hmm. So, yes, they are absolutely wonderful brake vans. They do look great.
And being a white metal kit, it does weigh nearly 20 tonnes to hang off the back of your train.
Richard asked, is that not a bit modern for you, that brake van?
No, it's a Billington brake van. It's fine for my time period. I'm modelling 1900 to 1910. I believe these came in late 1890s to early 1900s, but I'm sure that others will correct me if I'm not right on that.
I'm sure someone will know.
Certainly they were in by 1910, so it was a kit. I saw it. I saw it last year. I wanted it, and by the time I got to South Eastern Finecast, they'd sold out. So this year I went there, and the very first thing I did was I went to South Eastern Finecast and said, "Hello, I'd like one of your brake fans, please." And they sold it to me there and then.
Luke Knight says that's a very nice looking brake van, Linny.
Thank you, Luke. I'm really quite pleased with it.
And good evening, Luke. Welcome. How are you this evening? We are almost caught up with chat and ready to start, and we're already quarter of an hour in. This has been brilliant. Check out Twitter for that name. Okay, I will check out Twitter for that name. That's Leicester Central, wasn't it? Christopher? Yes, I see it slightly higher up the chat there. It's great to meet you guys. Yes, it was brilliant, Matt. Thank you for introducing yourself. Web GP38 will have a GP40 number code. There are no models available that were GP40 BNSF related. Fair enough, Matt. James asks, Ian of Transferland, are you EB models? Yes, James, Ian is indeed EB models. Max says, I heard you bought a K's K-Class. Would that be a Kaiser K's? Well, Max, you are getting in there before I even can with my purchases from Uckfield. We have first some nice little details in some South Eastern and Chatham etched numbers for all my South Eastern and Chatham locos. So there is something short for the future. So we P-Class, H-Class, obviously the D-Class when that is built. And we do indeed have a Kaiser's LBSC K-Class. Brand new, still with its bubble wrap, all packaged up with the Kaiser's instructions, nicely ready to do on stream in the future. I've been after one of these kits for a long time, and this one was a bargain. I could not say no to it, and it is Linny's fault I have it.
Not so much couldn't say no to it as I mentioned to Gary, I've seen something that might interest you. And when I told him where it was and what the price was, he was directing vans at the time, and suddenly his high-vis vest was thrust into my hands, and off he went. You could see the dust cloud following him. But it looks like it'll be an excellent kit to build. It looks like it'll be great for the stream. Well,
I say I have heard these.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have heard these are an interesting build. So, but that is what I like. It should be a challenge. Luke is good. Has been weathering some buildings this afternoon. Excellent, Luke. I did see the N7 you posted. I just haven't had a chance to really respond. It looked great. Could be helpful and send it, but my desk is covered in a Harrier GR1. What, full size one, Christopher? Did you win that from buying enough Pepsi or something?
Hang on, is that in 00 gauge or EM?
Oh, Alex wants us to drink. He has called the hydration command. Hydration is indeed extremely important. I have my usual sugar-free, black, generic, red label liquid.
And I am on generic fruit-flavoured carbonated dihydrogen monoxide.
Oh, I do like the K-Class. Yes, I love the K-Class, James. It is wonderful. Looks like a good haul. Much smaller haul than usual, but a fantastic one nonetheless. It is more than I intended on getting because, of course, I did also pick up all the paints we need for all the projects in the near future, including the Marsh Umber colours for the i3. Good day, bit slow start morning. A good evening, well, good morning to you, Brad. It is good to see you here. I hope you are well. This is awesome. Thank you, Matt. Yep. Rising to the bait. Per Southern Wagons, 12 built by Cravens, 1901. Out 8 by Birmingham, RC&W, 1902. Four-wheeled version was built 1894 to 1908. Thank you, Stephen.
That will do very nicely.
I thought it would be you that rose to it, as I know you've got the wagon book there. Remember to smash that like button, says GaryBot. So if you haven't already, it would be very much appreciated if you did give that like button a smash or even just a gentle tap. And whilst you are there, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to make sure you know when I go live. I'm assuming the kit was stand opposite Lamborns. That stand was why I was glad I didn't bring money. That is indeed the stand that kit came from, Alex. Yes, although it was one of his cheaper ones. He had a few that were rather expensive and more so than they should have been. Mm-hmm. Use Hornby wheels, they're already insulated, as are the K's ones, Max. It is not a problem. 1-to-1 scale, Harrier GR1, if you shrink yourself to a 1/72nd scale. Yep, fair enough, Christopher. Paint, excellent, indeed. Yeah, he paints. Gary, do you know when you're going to send my airbrush back? When I get chance, Luke, shall we discuss the 8 months it took you to pay me for something? Or shall we drop that now? Right, we are 17 minutes in and we are finally caught up with chat. This is wonderful, everyone. Thank you for being here. You are all absolutely fantastic. You make this whole thing worthwhile. We are going to play with some SER van, but first we are going to get another one of my purchases from the weekend out, in that we have some new blades that are actually the right size for my knife this time. Because, of course, not buying them on the internet means you can make sure they are the right size.
You mean you've got the right tool for the right job?
It's got to happen occasionally.
Only when you can't find the wrong one.
Exactly. Because for those that don't remember, I bought my last lot on eBay and they were significantly too small. And I actually had to put masking tape in to hold them in place. Now, as a responsible YouTuber, I would like to just, point out that is a terrible idea. Do not ever, ever do that. Gary, Alex laughs. Honey, I shan't. Good evening, Gary, Linny, chat. Good evening, Killian. It is fantastic to see you here this evening. I hope you are doing well. Code Monkey, hello, welcome. It is good to see you here. I hope you are also doing well. There's another £200 delays by appearing. Even Killing Killing okay, you both. Goodness, 17 people in chat. It has been absolutely fantastic, Killian. We are 20 minutes in. We have not yet started because chat has been that busy. There we go. Look, my knife looks correct for a change. And you really can see when you put these blades next to each other just how much too small the ones I purchased were. So do make sure you're buying the right tools, everyone. It is not a good idea to be using blades the way I was. And it shall be avoided in future. Good things, very good things. Excellent. Everyone is well. This is what we like to hear. Now, these kits here are brand new. They do not yet have instructions made up for them. So Linny is going to talk us through how we go about making these kits.
Right.
And whilst Linny gives us a quick overview, I'm going to get us some glue ready.
So the kit that you've got comes with a basic floor. It comes with sole bars with spring detail and axle guards, which will be layered together, laminated, and get slotted into preformed slots in the floor. So once you've built that up, you can test it on your nice flat sheet of glass to make sure that your wagon will roll nice and smoothly along the floor, along the rails, sorry. Hopefully not on the floor, that usually means there's been a derailment. And once you've got your chassis nice and solid, you can add the various details, the brake levers and the brake gear. This wagon only had brake shoes on one side, but had levers on both sides with a rather complicated system of cams, so that when you worked one lever, it moved the other lever. You can then put your axle boxes on, and you're ready to start on the body, which is done by adding the framing over the top of the normal planked sides, and then the various strapping, including the door hinges and door locks. There are also lamp irons to be added for those who really want to. You can also do these with a bit of staple if you want to have a bit of relief, but they're there just in case. And those go on the ends of the van. I have just noticed that there may in fact be 2 bits of strapping missing from these. This is a test build after all, because these aren't ready yet. So we'll need to add 2 bits of strapping at the end of the van, in the centre, of the ends. But I'm sure we can manage that with a ruler and a scalpel, and we can...
Well, I'm sure you can. You're better at those things than me.
You've got plenty of scrap card there, which we can make something out of.
Max would like to know, do you ship to the US of A?
I am sure that can be arranged. Once I've got these kits out, I can. They fit very nicely into a standard large letter box, which means that they can ship fairly cheaply if you're only buying 2 or 3 of them. Anything more than that, and the postage would go up. But I'm quite happy to post to the US. Yeah.
Luke would like to know if you take commissions.
I do take commissions. I'm currently taking a bit of a break for them while I get everything set back up. Now that the laser cutter is back in use, I've got a little bit of a backlog to get through, but I am quite happy to take up commissions. If you have anything that you want to send me a message about, to ask about, feel free to send me a message through the contact form on the website.
Which... Everyone, we could get a link to Linny's website quite easily, because of course for tonight I have set up a command just for Linny. So if someone wants to hit !Linny into chat, we will get a link to Linny's website for you all. I could not go without putting one of them in, could I? Not at all. Max says, have you taken any orders from members of RMWeb? And as a member of RMWeb who met Linny through said forum, I can confirm that yes, Linny has had orders from members of RMWeb.
I have indeed, yep. That's often where people have heard of me, or sometimes through Twitter, from my Twitter account, which is @Linny'sTrains. Feel free to go and have a look. There's usually pictures of what I'm working on, including these and stuff for my own layout.
Good to see Linny's links spam in chat. That is exactly the result I was after when I said that. Harry says, are you willing to pre-build kits and send them out fully built?
Built, yes. Painted, potentially. In terms of transfers and lettering, certainly for the South Eastern Railway wagons, they can be quite expensive. And the only transfers I've found for them, I've had a bit of difficulty with. So I'm not sure whether I would be up for doing that, but certainly for the London, Brighton and South Coast things, yes, I could build them for a charge, but they're being kits, there is quite a bit of work that goes into them. So...
Luke says the Atlantic on your website header is very nice, Linny. How was it made?
That one was in fact built from a Triang B12. Well, correction, it was built from two Triang B12s, a static J39 kit, and some valve gear from a Great Western engine. It was to fill in a gap in the LNER class system because they had letter and number for a class where the letter was the wheel arrangement, so the C's were Atlantics, and they had class C1, C2, and then C3 through to C18, I believe, or maybe 19, but never a C3. So it was decided by someone at my club that we should build a C3. And that unholy mess is the result of that joking suggestion. It's kept me busy for a while, it was great fun, and the number was provided by a club member who managed to find a gap in the numbering sequence for the Atlantic numbers, so even the number, although it wasn't real, is plausible.
Alex, you are wonderful. Thank you for the Linny Twitter spam. Woo, Garybot 2.0, Garybot 3.0 and pre-grouping era Linny triple header. Indeed, welcome Corbs. It is great to see you here. How are you this evening? James says, Stroudley four-wheelers, interesting. How do these compare to brass kits, I wonder? Well, here we have some Linny Stroudley four-wheelers, not yet attached to their underframes. In fact, one of the underframes isn't even painted properly yet. So, I can confirm that these are absolutely fantastic kits. This one I am currently holding was built on stream and did not take very long at all. I believe we actually had to move on to something else that night because we couldn't go any further with it. And once on their chassis, they do look absolutely fantastic. They are definitely my preferred Stroudley four-wheeler kit.
There are some bits which are a little bit more robust to do in etched brass than in card, so there are a few of the smaller details aren't on the kit. I also recommend fitting etched brass handrails because it saves painting, B, they're a little bit stronger, and C, it's a lot easier than making them yourself out of wire. But other than that, pretty much everything on there is either card, wood, or there are some plastic lamps on the roof from the Ratio range, I believe. Or are those ones?
No,
those
they
ones
are 5 and 9 models by Chris Cox.
5 and 9 models ones, yes.
Have you thought about constructing wooden NE Y6 tram for the Hornby D class?
For the Hornby...
The Hornby 040.
I have looked into it briefly, but the D class chassis is rather too long, so that would need hacksawing. And to be honest, I was considering doing one for a motor bogie instead. Often the motor bogies run better with a lot of weight, but funnily enough, having a large square body which is hollow and can be packed with metal would probably help with that. So I have considered looking into it. I was put off a little bit by the Rapido model, which came out and which is very, very good. But there is always a possibility, and I'm open to commissions. So send me a message.
It'd be like, what was that interesting? Right, I just want to quickly, I can confirm that it is not just me modelling here. Linny does in fact have the same kit in front of them across the other side of the workbench. So I am very much watching what Linny does on this trial kit and working on it. Does anyone remember if Linny did some LCDR coaches? I thought so, but Linny wasn't sure when we chatted earlier, and I want to know which one of us is going mad. I think you're both going mad, Tom, to be honest. But, I mean, you're pre-grouping modelers. We're all mad.
We're all mad here. No, I think I've got some Southeastern and Chatham six-wheel coaches on the go. They may end up being a personal project because they're going to be extremely fiddly and complicated. Although if I do make them and they turn out alright, I might make them open to special orders.
Luke has a motor bogie and would like a Y6, so you may have some orders if that does happen, Linny.
Well, I'm sure I've got the drawings somewhere, and it does look like a prototype that would be eminently suited to laser cutting in wood. So, never say never.
So, I am, as I said, going to be following along what Linny does in this build. Linny has already started cutting, so I need to catch up. Admittedly, it's only 2 parts cut out so far, but that's 2 more than me. Like the Reverend Audrey's Y6 tram using motor bogey, something like that, question mark, says
That would do,
Max.
yep. That would do as a source of such parts, yes.
So all Linny has cut so far is these 2 parts, so I'm going to catch up.
So the first part that Gary's cut out is the soul bar and springs detail, and the part underneath. Okay, there's the soul bar and springs.
Fantastic detail again.
And then to go behind that are the axle guards, or W irons as they're known. Those are the bits that actually hold the wheel bearings properly. And then the detail parts go over the top.
So they will be
Something
like that when on the kit. Obviously they'll be lined up properly. Because Linny does everything so well, they will line themselves up properly.
They should do. So,
right, fiddly and complicated may well be the motto for the SECR. Indeed. That darn Wainwright, he was not thinking of modelers wanting to make tiny little versions of his stuff when he was designing it, was he? Mad, speak to yourselves, gentlemen. The same model, the Midland. I'm not sure about that, Stephen.
all one colour for engines and coaches? Surely not.
Ian McCormack says the LCDR has been commissioned in brass from me by a group doing a pre-grouping layout that's appearing at the NEC. I can get other copies if people want.
Oh, now that
is very interesting, Ian. Thank you for bringing that up. Alex agrees with Stephen. Now, Alex, the thing is, you are very much one of the reasons I can disagree with sane people modelling the Midland. So, Linny is now working on the floor. I should do the same. We're going to test fit as we always do.
So, first of all, before you start, pick up the floor, and you'll feel that it's got a smooth side and a rough side.
Oh, it very much does have a smooth side and a rough side. This side here,
you can see the smoke marks from the laser burning.
You can see my thumb moving from the friction of the rough side. On that side, it is sliding down it. Quite happy.
So you want to put the rough side onto your bench so the smooth side is facing up.
Killian still has a mind to do a Q to fit the H chassis. Do it, Killian.
Do it. Do it.
Do it.
See, I told you all of us pre-grouping modelers were mad. Right.
Especially me.
So, the first part you want to do is you will find this is quite a snug fit. Do not use the axle guards to push down. Instead, find the flat bits of the soul bar and press down like that. You will find it's a very snug fit. You can actually mostly build this chassis without glue.
Clearly holds itself in. It is that snug there. Words. Gary does English.
So, now that we've fitted that part, if you take your spring detail part, now being aware that most of the raised details on this, the bits that's sticking out from the bottom, are quite fragile, you want to take it and insert the tabs into the slots on the floor. Now, they probably won't go all the way in at first, so just line them up nice and neatly. And then use something like a small screwdriver or a pair of tweezers in the gaps to just gently, in lots of little small steps, press it down into place. So if you go in between the spring and the soul bar and just press the soul bar down, it should just nicely slot in and be aligned with the parts behind.
And as you can see, everyone, that was very easy for me to do as Linny was saying it. I've not quite pushed this side in all the way yet. When it focuses, you will see hopefully there is a slight bit of daylight showing through. But that has gone in beautifully.
So once we have done this, and you've got everything nicely seated, you might notice that the parts are slightly sprung apart from each other.
Which they have indeed. We can put it around this way. You can see they have.
So what we'll do next is we will take 2 pinpoint
Mad, so I'm taking my walrus and leaving. Exactly, Alex.
So,
The singularity exceptionally complicated railway. That's the one, Corbs, indeed. That's no walrus, that's my wife.
oh dear.
Right, I notice I've had some top hat bearings placed in front of me. For those that don't know why they're called top hat bearings, if my camera ever wants to focus... No, don't be silly, camera. You wouldn't want to focus, would you? The answer is they look like top hats.
So, what you'll want to do is take one of your top hat bearings, probably in a pair of tweezers, because they're small, fiddly, and they will go ping across the
They
boat.
will go ping even more in a pair of tweezers if you're me. However, a small pair of pliers will also hold them.
And insert through the back of one of your axle guards, and it won't necessarily go all of the way in until you push it against the axle box on the front lamination.
This one won't. These may be some relatively cheap ones I bought, and that one is expanded at the bottom, so it's not going to fit the hole. That one looks significantly better. So this is why you don't buy cheap bearings, ladies and gentlemen.
Go for your Romfords.
I will, of course, that one fits in.
Is it loose?
It is
Good.
slightly loose, yes.
So what we need now is you want some thin super glue. And normally I would suggest applying super glue with a piece of wire or a pin. In this case, I won't. What you want to do... Oh, yes! I'm getting a very quizzical look here. That's actually not how we're going to do this here. What we're going to do...
Top hat bearings for the well-dressed Victorian engineer. Indeed, James. It's because fancy people wear them to the theatre. It is, Alex. Love how that all comes together. They are brilliantly simple kits, Max. Linny is an excellent designer.
So if your bearing is loose, what we'll do is we'll pick it up, and you may not be able to do as I'm doing, which is tip it so the bearing faces down. I
definitely could not pick it up like that, which is why I haven't as yet.
Right. So what we'll do is take it with a pair of tweezers, pinching the bearing in place, like so.
Right, for that we will use tweezers, because that's not going to go ping. Kind of wishing I'd started with the other side now.
So, and holding it in the tweezers, move the tweezers so that they are not covering the end of the bearing, like so. And apply a small drop of super glue from the bottle, and then release. You might find everything pops apart.
Where am I applying that?
To the end of the bearing that
to
you can
the
see.
End of the bearing.
Outside end of the bearing that you can see.
So between the two bits of frame.
Yes. While holding everything nice and tight with the tweezers.
Why not use PVA? Because the PVA won't stick to the brass, Matt. Certain exhibitions day at which the MJT bearings were available from dark casting stand, I found other brands to be inconsistent in depth. Indeed, Stephen, dark castings are a great source of bearings, and the MJT ones are brilliant. I am a big fan of both of those brands. I wonder what exhibition that could have been. Oh look, someone's got a flyer here. I'm surprised no one's commented on that. That is, of course, the flyer for next year's show. Or some sort of wood glue. Again, Max, because we're gluing metal, not wood.
So PVA glue works better with porous materials like wood or card because it soaks in through the pores of the material and then bonds them. But with brass, it doesn't have anywhere to soak into, so it just doesn't... Or it sticks very gently, but it's very weak.
Alex says, this stream is marvellous. Linny is a superb co-host / teacher. This definitely deserves another round of like button smashing. Thank you, Alex. Your comments are greatly appreciated.
Indeed. Thank you very much. I am feeling very flattered tonight.
And whilst you're down there, like down there, hitting that like button, which is over this side. On this side, there's a subscribe button. As you can tell, I know what YouTube's layout looks like. I'm really good at that. Pro YouTuber. Next to that subscribe button is a little bell. Make sure you hit both of those as well to be alerted of whenever I upload videos or go live. Of course, when I go live is reasonably predictable. Now, I need another bearing because of this one being rubbish.
Like that one there?
No, because this one is rubbish.
Right, well, we'll try with
This is
one.
This is one of my. This is the cheapo expanded out at the head ones.
You may want to pinch that. It looks like it hasn't quite stuck. So you might want to apply another drop of glue. From the outside, from the front of the bearing to here, you can apply the glue first.
No, that has very much stuck.
Oh well, it will do for the purposes of. Oh no, there we go. That looks absolutely fine. So rinse, lather, rinse, and repeat, and we should then have one side of the wagon.
Again, this is another bearing that has expanded slightly. There we go, I've got it through.
Well, you'll need that one soon.
I will not be using this brand again. However, I will also not be naming them because that is not what we do on this channel, unfortunately. I will say, do not buy cheap bearings. I will not tell you whose they are. Wig glue, very useful sometimes. Using PVA non-porous materials is a method in some cases. Yes, however, this is, as we're trying to make permanent bonds here, it would not be. Ah, here we have a very fine man showing up. Hello, Javier. Good morning, gamers. I hope you are well this evening. I'm very excited by the CAD image you sent me. Very, very excited indeed. I cannot wait to have one of them. How are we doing today, Alex? Staying hydrated? We should all be staying hydrated. Hydration is indeed very important, ladies and gentlemen.
Doesn't work as well with plastic cups, does it? Oh well.
It doesn't, but we're not having another repeat of me smashing a £20 glass on the live stream. Oh, and there's me hitting the camera, because of course today the workbench is all over the place and my drink is stored right next to the tripod. X-Acto blade, I had a kit with all sorts of X-Acto items and a saw, lost it a while ago, need to find it for mailing my pug person, redoing the N2 chassis as a 040. Have done so much work to it already. Excellent, Max. Yes, I do use X-Acto saws and knife blades. It is an X-Acto handle. They are my brand of choice. I am not sponsored.
Other brands exist.
Other brands do exist.
For example, Linny is more of a fan of the Swan Morton scalpels because there's a huge variety of blades and the blades lock nicely into the handle. They don't need tightening up with a screw thread. So they work better for me. It's all about finding the tools that work for you.
Indeed it is. It's by Kitmaster if Linny is curious. That's the LMY pug that Max is building.
It's a good kit for bashing. It's been something that's been used by 009 modelers for many, many years. Go and look up the word pug bash and you'll find all sorts of interesting conversions, including fireless engines, Garrett articulated engines, all sorts of stuff can be made out of that kit.
And if you watch really closely in certain places, you'll find 062 narrow gauge engines. Made out of a Dapple pug and some parts from a Bachmann Scarloey.
The Dapple pug, of course, Dapple having, of course, bought the molds from Airfix, who, of course, bought them from Kitmaster, who made them in the first place. I wonder who could have built one of them.
I wouldn't know, Linny. Tom bought some cheap bearings. He's currently fitting into another Linny made, and they are working so far. That is excellent. I am glad to hear it, Tom.
Right.
I mean, I would be quite interested to know which Linny made thing you are making. And I mean, I could ask Linny, who will know, but I'd rather ask you, Tom.
So, shall we get back to building some wagons?
We probably should. We are now 3/4 of an hour in. It is 10:15.
We've assembled
We have
3 bits and
done
2 bearings.
3 bits. Yeah.
Right, so...
This is not the fastest going stream ever.
Still want your super glue?
I will, but I'm keeping the lid on it in the
You'll
meantime.
want it right now, in fact. So,
Fine.
so again, on the bearing that you have not glued,
Oh yeah, I've not glued a bearing yet, have I?
so if you hold that...
It was this one.
Yes, if you hold this in this way up, please demonstrate, does the bearing fall out?
It does not.
Okay, good. So apply a drop of super glue to the top of the bearing here, and then squeeze everything tight with the tweezers. You can then...
Exacto is a great band. Swan Morton all the way. Never knew this job. Exacto in American proportions. Shh, it's a secret. And Gary Bot wants us to hydrate. Unfortunately, Gary Bot, we have just done that. So we are applying the super glue.
Give it a little squeeze and maybe blow on it to speed
A
up.
very light squeeze, I should add. I am putting no pressure on the MDF at all here, other than to hold the 2 pieces together. Says, I hate to disappoint Gary Bot 3.0, but I've literally just hydrated. You should have known that. Gary Bot 3.0 does not have the intelligence of Gary Bot 2.0, unfortunately.
That's a pity.
I coded him that way.
Was that the one building a kit right now?
Well, we don't talk about Gary Bot 1.0. Oh, there we go.
Oh. So the trick with this is you can probably, if you twist the pliers slightly back and forth, they should pop off cleanly. The trick is to squeeze, blow on it to set the super glue, and let go fairly quickly with the pliers, otherwise they get stuck.
So remember, kids, do as Linny says, not as I do.
So far we have not glued our soul bars to the floor. We are going to continue not gluing our soul bars to the floor just yet. They are intentionally a snug fit, but we want to have them slightly flexible for when we want to pop the wheels in. Once they're in, we'll glue it all solid.
Alex says, ha, you Gary Bot, you accursed Skynet rip-off. I mean, you make a good point. Gary Bot 3.0 has in fact turned up in other people's streams before.
So, as much as we like lathering, rinsing and repeating with this kit, we're going to do it again. We'll do the exact same that we did before with the soul bar and the axle guards. And we'll pop it all together. Again, without gluing it. So we'll start off, once Gary is ready, with the axle guards. The inner soul bar. I'm aware I'm probably using a lot of wagon jargon, so if anyone wants to ask what something is, feel free to ping us in the chat and I'll try and explain what on earth I'm talking about, because most of the time I'm not sure either. I'm just regurgitating terms I read in a book somewhere.
That's all we ever do. Matt, I'm going to have to upload to the Pug Bash thread. Yes, Max, do upload your kit that you're doing to the Pug Bash thread. The Pug Bash thread, of course, was started by Corbs, who is loitering somewhere in chat, of course. I can only imagine how Linny found out how to do that step. I assume you mean the step of removing the things that have been glued to MDF.
I have super glued many things to MDF by mistake over the last couple of years.
Stephen says, is there not enough flexibility in the material to pop the wheel sets in and out?
MDF is not brilliantly flexible. It's in the same way that white metal can be bent maybe 3 times before it snaps. MDF can be very gently flexed, but I wouldn't recommend trying to bend it as such. It's usually for the best with this kit to do it dry, put the wheels in, and to just not take them out. One of the limitations of the material, unfortunately.
Max says, does Linny have any 7-plank coal wagons available? And
no.
I'm going to add a second question of all plans in the future.
So not at the moment. However, at the Uckfield show, I did pick up a rather good book on private owner wagons of the UK with various drawings, which makes a change from the various railway company wagons that there are many books for. It is a thing I may look into in the future, but they are fairly well served by various plastic kits at the moment. Depending on the time period that you're looking to model, there are kits by Cambrian if you're a southern modeler for pre-grouping things. There are kits by Parkside Dundas for anything after the grouping.
Just Parkside now.
Well, correction, yes, just Parkside by Pico, because Dundas models are the narrow gauge models, which are still under the original owner's name.
Indeed they are.
Being, of course, a local company to myself, being based in Fife.
It's almost like my question was loaded.
Almost. But I have a few wagon projects still to do, but there may be 7 clankers in the future.
Need to finish first before I upload the part. Yes, indeed, Max. Although you could upload part built. I'm sure no one would be opposed to that.
Gary, you have overtaken me in the build already.
I have overtaken you whilst you were answering questions to your adoring public.
So you have, of course, used the tweezers to carefully press everything in, because if you try and press it in by the springs, all the axle guards, all the axle boxes, those will break off, and you will be left with no parts for finishing your chassis.
Which would be a bit rubbish.
However, if you do damage a part when building my kits, if you drop me an email and tell me which part it is, what I can do is create another part and post one out to you for the cost of a stamp and an envelope. So don't worry about breaking bits when building my kits, because I'm quite happy to replace individual parts. The joy of laser cutting is I don't have to run off a whole sprue of all of a kit to get one spare part. I can just create one when I want it. Right,
Which is very handy.
I am just fitting the springs and axle boxes. I'm sure you can fit the bearings as before. And then I will steal the super glue, because I haven't actually glued any of my bearings in yet.
Oh, we should probably do that at some point. I've heard it's quite a useful thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are the... Place your bets now, everyone. Am I going to glue the pliers to the kit again? Bets in 3, 2, 1, and go. For those that bet I would, you lose. Because it's MDF, and MDF is not wood.
Would it be wood?
I got another one already.
Where did you get that from?
Ah.
See, the bearings are over here. I don't know how you managed to pick another one up, which isn't the one that's warped. So, we shall... Oh, I see where you got it from. You pinched it from the pile in front of me and I wasn't looking.
Ah, Luke says, yes I am. Linny, it seems to me that dumb buffered wagons lend themselves rather well to laser cut technology. No bought-in castings. That is from Stephen.
That would be a possibility. It would change the way I would have to design the chassis a little bit, though, because my chassis are made out of thin wood, and the dumb buffers tend to be rather thick, chunky things. So, it's a possibility. I will look into it. I have provided dumb buffers on the Y9 tender, though they were an interesting design of dumb buffer, which was actually attached to the buffer beam, as opposed to being just an extension of the frames.
You'll do both if Schrodinger's cat has anything to say about it. Well, I didn't, which was nice. Gluing to yourself this time in, No, I am not, Tom. Wait, is Linny with you now? Yes, Max,
Yes.
Linny is
Hello,
here
Max.
now.
I am here right now in Gary's studio. In fact, waving on the camera
Look,
right now.
3 hands! How do I do? Oh my god, a 4th hand! How am I doing that? And you thought I really wasn't a chatbot.
Right, so I am just going...
Oh, that has been way too much glue there. Let's,
So the thing with thin super glue is don't try and wipe it up with a tissue.
No.
let it set, come back to it.
Thankfully, the parts are nicely holding themselves together, so the fact that it is too much super glue, it will be okay if we just let it soak in. Schrodinger's cat. Kittles, yes! Well done, James. Thank you for getting that one in there. I was hoping someone would. I can also confirm, Matt, not only is Linny here, but Linny is also working on a kit alongside me of exactly the same model.
Best way to make sure we're both building the thing the same way is to in fact build it at the same time.
So this is the first ever...
I think I've got one of your swollen bearings.
The first ever joint stream. There is one that is not swollen for you.
Thank you very much. Pop that in there with tweezers because I can't do it with my fingers.
If you can make a suggestion as to what I should add for the command superglue, James, I will certainly consider it.
Ow! My fingers!
And whilst Linny is catching up, as we have run off ahead of them, I am going to refill the hydration vessel with that wonderful black, fizzy, sugar-free, red label generic drink. Do I say drink or liquid? It's not that I'm overly tired or anything, but I can't remember words.
I'm going to pass you a cup, because I'm going to want some as well.
Indeed. Hydration is extremely important. Oh, apparently you leant slightly in front of the camera when I moved it over to see your kid. Max says we got a slight face reveal from you.
That's quite alright. Does that mean that you also got the bright purple hair reveal?
So I have done accidental face reveals in the past too. Hydration vessel, you say? Indeed I do.
Flux? No, we're not drinking Flux.
Vimto? No, not Vimto. Does Vimto have a red label? I thought it had a purple one.
Thank you.
So GaryBot 3.0 needs a spell check. Yeah, that's definitely GaryBot 3.0's fault and not GaryBot 2.0's fault. No, there was no purple hair reveal. There is the purple hair. And the hydration vessel. Hair certainly made finding you easier, Linny, says Alex.
It's distinctive.
No, I say that is what I say to everyone. When they're asking, like, if someone said to me, who shall I ask for, how do I find you? So you ask for Gary. If you can't find me, find Linny with they are the one with purple hair. Oh, I've had some wheels placed in front of me. That must mean that
It is in fact
Linny
time for
has
wheels.
caught up and we're going to add some wheels.
So, what's everybody saying? Purple hair as a command. No.
So I'm
Only
sure I
when
can
I'm
set
here.
that one up.
Only when I'm here. So there's a bit of a trick to fitting the wheels to this. We're using Bachmann wheels, I think.
Quite possibly. I am going to move the camera over so Linny can indeed show us their trick.
So the kits were originally designed for Gibson wheels, but they'll take Hornby or Bachmann wheels, anything with a 26mm axle, as long as it's...
Your left hand is rather in the way.
Thank you. As long as it is a 26mm axle and a 12 or 12.6mm wheel, which is the fairly standard wagon wheel size. So the trick for fitting these wheels is to place the wheel pretty much straight in between the bearings, like that, but not actually in the bearings. Gently with a thumbnail, flex one side out, just enough to pop the wheel in, and then repeat on the other side. just enough, and you'll then get, if it will focus,
There we go, there's the focus.
and it's gone again. It should just firmly grip and turn nice and freely. So,
Harry says your hair looks even better in person.
thank you very much. I'm quite pleased with it. It's a bit of work for the upkeep, but it suits me right down to the ground. Well, right down to my shoulders anyway. So the major thing to remember with fitting the wheels to these is not to just put one end in diagonally and then try and bend everything, because it won't work. So put them in straight and then fit one end in, and then using your thumbnail, or if you haven't got that, a pair of pointed nose tweezers to just separate enough for the wheels to fit in.
And that was exceptionally easy, and they are very nice free running wheels. In case you're wondering, Linny, as I've noticed you've looked back up, I did it as you were talking. In time with you talking.
Yeah. So in my case, my wheels are a little bit snug, so if you can wiggle them slightly from side to side, they will just spring those extra guards apart slightly and give better free running if they're a bit snug. Mine's a little bit snug, but
Still runs freer than a lot of RTR stuff.
and the acid test, put it in front of the camera and put your fingers on opposite corners. Does it rock when it's put on the glass?
It does not. And what about the other corners? I have no rock in there.
One nice flat chassis, job done. Total time, if we weren't chatting, probably about 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops.
Even with all this chatting, and we must remember we didn't even start till nearly half an hour in, is 1 hour. It is now 10 o'clock, which is why Gary Botty's 3.0 is popping up again and telling you to check out my website, because I put lots of effort into it and I never use it anymore. I really need to get back to adding stuff to that. I didn't get the Champ Brodo for yet. I'll get it at the show next week, 27th, if they have one. They're sold out on eBay. Unfortunately, the die-cast push-along model, like the treble O train items. Oh, that cool Matt Champ Road stuff, I believe, is German. Very nice. Also need to get another set of 11-inch radius curves. Well, in the words of the famous GaryBot 2.0, get on with it.
Alright, so while Gary is sitting there chattering away to everyone, Linny's got the scalpel out and is cutting out the next parts, which are the sides. Because we're going to let that chassis sit there and set a little bit whilst we get on with this. So you may notice that so far we're gluing wood, but we haven't actually used any PVA glue. This is going to change.
Woo, change.
Yeah, have you got any spare change?
I don't think I could even afford your bus fare home with my spare change, actually. Did you know the channel has a Patreon account? And a Streamlabs donation link.
So, you will next need to cut out one side, and then one side above, so top level framing. Being careful when cutting the top, which is very thin,
Very, very thin.
to keep your knife blade perpendicular to the wood surface, not to rock it from side to side, because if you do, you will find that you split the wood. This is unfortunately a problem with the design not showing very much of the top strapping.
Thank you, Alex.
There are 4 tags holding these pots on, 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom.
The bottom, which looks like much thicker beading, and I'm not nearly as worried about breaking it as I cut it. However, as Linny has already mentioned this evening, if you should mess these up and break your beading, you can get in touch with them to get replacement parts.
And those parts are, as I say, cost nothing more than the cost of postage. So, what we will do is, in fact, Gary has overtaken me again, but that's fine.
No, I haven't. I saw you placing it on there. I was looking at it the same way.
You have, because I haven't cut out the second side yet.
Oh, okay.
So when
That was more me not paying attention, to be honest.
if you pick these up, you will find that, in fact, the back planking is not as tall as the raised beading at the front. So, if you align the thinner edge of the bead, you take the thinner edge of the top part, the beading, and you align it with the top of the side, which can be recognised by there being a small cutout in the middle, then you will find that the bottom is a lip that mostly overhangs the bottom of the side. That lip will then sit over the edge of the chassis, making sure the body is at the correct height.
Just doing my job, Gov. Yes, it is very. Your job is very much appreciated, Alex. Right, got lots of interesting drawings today, including a certain monorail. Oh, very nice, Killian. I actually saw a book about a certain monorail at a certain model railway exhibition yesterday. Can't imagine what exhibition it was.
Oh, I wonder. If only we had such wonderful exhibitions here.
If only, indeed. So it's 17th and 18th of October next year. And look, we've not even raised the ticket price. Ticket price stays the same. So by the time the pound crashes, that'll be really expensive.
Something like that, yes.
Stephen says that's a very neat design there, Linny.
Thank you, Stephen. There are still one or two tweaks to be made to this. I'll explain one of them when we get to it, which should make it an even easier kit to assemble. But for now, we'll carry on with the build. So, this is the bit where you need your PVA glue and you need something to apply it with.
Selection of brushes.
Excellent, good start.
I'm sure Linny will tell us what size would be best and how to apply, because we do also have the nice glass pot of PVA glue ready to go. Great job on the i3 painting, Linny. Missed that bit in the beginning from Javier. Yes,
thank you very much.
Indeed, I will grab that back out for you now because it is just so fantastic.
Credit to the builder as well for making such a lovely model to build and to paint and line.
I believe this is another example of credit to the manufacturer. I should point out, this was the first kit I ever built. It is a white metal kit. It is the original wheels version, now made by Southeastern Finecast, as I'm sure you are all aware by the fact we are now building the Southeastern Finecast version on stream. The key difference being the cast white metal chassis that this one has. So it's the first kit I ever built. It went together wonderfully, and I would definitely recommend Southeastern Finecast and the earlier wheels kits, which you can still get on eBay, for anyone new to kit building.
Can absolutely confirm that, having built the Southeastern Finecast Billings and brake van last night with Gary's instructions in soldering. First one I've ever built soldered, and it went together absolutely beautifully. A little bit of bending here and there, which is always to be expected with white metal kits, just parts have gotten slightly bent, but everything was a nice snug fit, and it runs rather nicely.
And as Linny says, that is their first time ever soldering white metal. It has gone together beautifully, and I am glad to have helped in that happening. These things make me very happy.
Well, you are an excellent teacher with modelling, and hopefully people are getting just as much from the streams as I got from, I think, about 10 minutes sitting with you, pointing out what to do with the soldering iron.
You're too real, dude. That's beautiful. There's an engine out of my heart now, I do love an i3. Amazing job, both of you. Had a very brief chat with the chap on F stand today while drawing over the models. If that was the chap sitting down over at the end where the built models are displayed, Alex, that is, of course, Dave. Because everyone in the model industry is Dave. He is the owner of South Eastern Finecast, and he is a fantastic man. He too does offer singular replacement parts, as Linny does, and they are great kits to get going with if you want to go down the white metal route. Of course, another great start into the kit for those that are a bit scared of the soldering iron, as I know many people are earlier on, is kits you can glue together, preferably with PVA, which is the ideal thing with MDF. Some fantastic beginners level kits.
The trick with the PVA, of course, is it gives you a little bit of time to adjust the parts before you stick them, so that you can make sure you've got everything lined up nice and neatly, and give you a finished model that you can be really proud of, because everything is exactly where it should be, nice and square. It means that you can spend a little bit of time adjusting your chassis, making sure everything runs nicely, and just ending up with a model that you're really happy with. Because sometimes with modelling, you can find that things just pop together nice and quickly, but often I find it's just patience that you need to get everything just so.
Alex says, yes, that was the chap. Excellent. Yeah, he is a wonderful bloke, is Dave. And he is very, very encouraging of new modelers too. Now you can see here, we have finished... Oh, Dave, to go into the Model Rail Club and call out Dave, at least a third of them will answer. Exactly, Stephen. It does have... We actually had a someone new join at club last week, who is, of course, called Dave. Because, what other name are they going to have? Let's be honest. So that is, we have an empty fret here. Now, quite often with empty frets, what I do is I toss them behind me, as I'm sure you've seen many times. These are not getting tossed behind me. What we have here is some very crisp, straight, nice bits of 1mm MDF that will get saved, because these are perfect for using in scratch building and in other kits as packing material. They are smooth, they are already perfectly straight, you know they are 1mm thick, they are absolutely wonderful.
You know what else they're good for? Because you've got lots of nice straight strips, they're excellent for applying PVA glue as spreaders, so I always keep my frets and sprues. But I never have a very big collection of them, because I always end up using them. So
it's probably joined under assumed name, hoping to blend in. Indeed. Everyone who's interested in model railways called Dave, even those who aren't. Exactly,
I'm
Luke.
Dave.
That is right.
I'm Dave, and so is my wife.
That is the one.
So, you will require one paintbrush.
A preferably good condition paintbrush, because as we can see, I have an identical paintbrush here that I use for some slightly... I use it for painting big areas. You can see there the difference in the ends of those brushes. The new one is very fine, very nice. The one I use for painting large areas is a bit frayed, a bit rubbish. We don't want to use that for nice work like this.
You can use it for glue, because we're going to be applying glue to the back of the beading part. So the front is easily identifiable because it's got lots of engraved detail on it, showing where you're going to be attaching the paper bits later. This is also useful when it comes to painting and weathering, because it means that you'll get any weathering grot that you apply later will end up in those grooves and highlight all the raised details you've added. So, you will want to apply carefully, not adding huge quantities, but adding a little bit and just trailing it along. It doesn't have to be super thick, you don't have to have it so thick that everything's white. As long as there's glue on all of it, it will be absolutely fine.
I have tended to find in the past with Linny's kits, if there is enough there to put a slight shine to the MDF, that is enough. You do not need to be able to see the white at all. and they stick together beautifully. And I will just at this point remind everyone this is not a sponsored stream. I am not sponsored by anyone. The fact that Linny is here and we are working on Linny's kits is purely for the sake of Linny's here. What else would we work on? All recommendations are my own and no one else's.
Except mine, which I've given because they're mine, not yours.
Fine. All my recommendations are my own. However, if you would like me to say literally anything you want, I do have a Patreon, I do have a donation button, I will say things for money.
As long as they're family friendly.
Of course, as long as they're family friendly.
So, remembering that the thin beading goes at the top, which is where the little cutout is. We'll use that in a bit. And remembering that you should have a little lip at the bottom, which should be straight all the way along. You can, of course, put it down vertically against the glass at the top to make sure it's nice and flat, and align it with the marks that were on there to show where the doors go. Door framing being on the beading.
Heck, what, Dave is a hive mind, indeed. Hold fire until you see the whites of their glue. Oh, I've pulled it off when I've put that bit behind it. That was silly of me. But that is one of the good things about PVAs. I still have time to move it back into position where it is meant to be.
So once you put it where you're happy with it, place it on your glass, squish it down, nice and firm, put it to one side to dry.
I'm quite impressed at GaryBot 3.0 there, who has jumped in completely off its own back to point out that I have a Patreon account. It's almost like I know the order these things are coming out in, and to randomly plug stuff. Shall I sponsor you, Gary? Yes, Luke. Yes, you should. I also have a non-existent Patreon, and much like Gary's Patreon, donations are very much welcome. Hold on, I'm a Patreon. This could be interesting. Would you drink the flux for donations? I cannot drink the flux for donations, James, unfortunately.
Your flux is not liquid.
No, my flux, if I opened it up, and if I tried to drink that, well, that's not going to come out of there and be very drinkable now. Sometimes I do things on this stream and I'm just sitting there hoping they're not a terrible idea. Opening up the flux and turning it upside down is one of them.
Right, so whilst that is setting, we will take the other side and we will lather, rinse and repeat. So your thin bead
James has pulled the donations link for us as well. Thank you, James. Is very much appreciated to just drop these links in. So the stream is actually quite healthy at the moment. The stream funds have recently been spent on parts for the D-Class kit, which of course we really should talk about at some point. Because I mean, there may be people here who live on a rock, under a rock on Mars, and haven't heard that there is, in fact, a ready-to-run D-Class coming out from Rails of Sheffield. I mean, I'm going to be honest, it's going to be a fantastic model, I have no doubt about that. But that does not put me off kit building mine. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who are put off kit building Loco when they find out it is turning up ready to run. I am not one of those. In case you hadn't figured from the fact I run a weekly live stream where I build kits, I quite enjoy kit building and I find more pleasure in the building than in the operating of a layout. So for me, a kit is preferable to a ready-to-run model, even if I know I can't do as well as the ready-to-run manufacturers will.
Because you can look at it and you can say, I built that, that's mine. You put your own little stamp on it. It becomes your personal project, not just one that comes out of a box. Not that there's anything wrong with coming out of a box. It's absolutely fine to use the ready-to-run stuff, but sometimes it can just be a nice thing to look at and go, yeah, that's mine.
Exactly that. A case in point, of course, is the P-Class, which I do have a Dean Sidings kit I built, done as number 27, which is Primrose at the Bluebell Railway. I also have the ready-to-run number 27, which is a far finer, much more detailed, much nicer model. But would I trade mine for it? Not a chance. God, lots of chat going on there. You can actually use your hydration fluid as flux. I mean, that's just going to ruin a perfectly good kit if I do that, James. You could eat it. No, I couldn't, Luke. Now, my non-existent money doesn't stretch that far, Luke. Oh, you can't be a non-existent Patreon of Luke. That's a shame. Shame in my 11th non-existent Patreon. Shame it's by Dapple, but oh well. Yes, I mean, there are manufacturers I would prefer than Dapple, but I'm sure it'll still be a very nice model. Looked into D-Class. Sadly, it won't do for my layout. That is a shame. Could say, you say that as if there was something wrong with Dapple. Dapple aren't known for their liveries being quite right, James, which is, it is a shame, but these things happen, and I mean, it should still be an absolutely stunning model. Fortunately, you just informed me of a future kit mod of mine. Oh? Did I? Very interesting. Interesting, I do like Operation. Yeah, I do like Operation as well, James. It is just that I prefer the build. Gary, you're going to race the RTR1 to completion with your kit. Corbs, I am going to smash that one because the D-Class is the next kit we shall be building on stream, unless people are desperate to see the K's K that I have just bought. The plan is very much for the D-Class to be next. I have bought some nice detailing parts for that. So, I mean, even if it's even it comes after the K, with the time limit on the D coming out, I'm going to win that by a long way. So glad they announced it this week. I was prepared to get one at the exhibition. Oh, I like boxes. Yes, James, there is nothing wrong with ready-to-run locos, and I do have many, many, many of them. You can furnish you with a list sometime. What's the I said both? Yes. Apart from delays and the dodgy diodes, what has Dapple ever done for us? Glad to see 27 Primrose got a new cylinder block recently. Yes, it did indeed. I am looking forward to seeing Primrose back and running. It shall be fun. Seriously, the phosphoric acid in colas can be used as a weak flux. Oh, really? Interesting. Well, big enough donation. I'll think about it. Not the place where there's reasons, many of them. Yes, it's like a very dilute version of Car's green label. I prefer Car's red label personally, but fair enough. I did not know that. Dapple do some splendid things in Engage. They do have some wonderful Engage stuff. I will admit that. Yes, I have used a lot of their Engage. I expect that for the D, one can have confidence, as do I, Stephen. I very much think that we should have some confidence for the D. Detailing parts, yes. Yeah, looking forward to seeing the D-Class kit under construction. Well, outside Corbs, it is now ready to go. The wheels were recently purchased with the funds that have been donated as random tips and the Patreon, and in fact the donations I have had covered the wheels in full, and I would just like to thank you all out there for that, because, you know, it is absolutely fantastic that I've been able to do that because of you. I found the info for the carriages. They are 1862 to 1867. There is a first composite, second, all on 25 foot, and a third brake with birdcage on 24-foot wheelbases. Oh, that is
Very
brilliant, nice. Ian. That is very nice indeed. We will have to discuss them at some point, definitely. Oh, don't get me wrong, Super Happy to Dean will buy 2 of them. Never have full confidence in Dapol. Detailing, no, not on D-Class, I'm sticking around the coast for a bit. Ah, interesting. Interesting indeed. Else like I know we need someone to do a Scotchman to pull them. Cough. Yeah, yes, we do. We do, Killian. We do indeed. I wonder who that could be. Yes. So I have some lovely Dapol models. Yes, as I have used Dapol in N when I am with the club, and I do not have any issue with their stuff in N, but their 00 stuff has been known to have a few issues. 50-foot birdcage is a splendid thing to go with the D. They would indeed, James. I approve of 50-foot bird cages.
Exclamation mark, approve.
Right then, Linny has been soldiering on ahead with the chassis, so I will pass over to Linny to tell us what we are doing.
So while we're going to put the sides to one side to let them dry. The PVA takes a little bit longer than the super glue, and even while we're chatting, just putting them aside for 5 minutes, letting them set, means that they're far less likely to move around. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the axle box covers off, which are these 4 little bits here that Gary is chopping just now. And hopefully, you might need to poke those now that you've...
I was going to, but I don't like poking them with the knife. I was going to use the tweezers to do so.
Pop them out. 1, 2...
That one has not cut properly.
4.
But now that it's behind, I can get it out, and there we go.
Right, so you will notice on these, there is a little engraved line across the front. Just where the little, the top cover comes out.
There we go, focus. So there you go, you can see the line across the top there.
You can also see how tiny these parts are. They are a little bit fiddly, but these parts are stuck in with PVA, so that will allow you to adjust them until you're happy with their position. So, pick up that paintbrush, and I will stop doing Yorkshire accents because that's a really bad idea. And apply glue to the front of an axle box.
Take it on the chassis.
Yeah, on the chassis. Just a blob of glue over the whole thing. That's it. And
I've got lots of glue on there, so I'm going to do both.
Okay, and then you can pick up an axle box cover.
Not a penguin.
No, I'm not allowed to do that. That's copyright infringement. And apply your axle box covers. Thus, I usually put them on with a pair of tweezers and then adjust them. The PVA glue gives you a couple of minutes to adjust them if you need to, but take the time, make sure they're nice and straight. It makes a better looking model. And then once you've got them correct, just tap down on top of them with the tweezers, just to press them firmly against the part underneath. And that will just give you a slightly better glue joint.
So easy, even I can do it. Finally, my birdcage will have something to sit in front of them. The sea never looked right with such large carriages. Well, Alex, if the sea doesn't look right, I do accept donations. That is splendid Edwardian train. It will indeed. Fixing up the track well on N-scale layout. Realise I need to buy some more 5-inch straights by Atlas. Well, Max. I've said it once tonight already. We'll say it again. Get on with it. It's a 50-foot bird cage for the penguin.
Oh dear, that penguin. Right, so
They have set enough now that I'm happy to move round to the other side. And as Linny said earlier, lava, rinse and repeat.
The trick with these kits is once you've done one bit once, you'll find that you'll be doing the same thing over and over and over again. So there's actually not that many different things to do in these kits.
Almost want to sing that, but that would also be copyright infringement, and I'm pretty sure YouTube are pretty hot when it comes to music, even if it is the person singing, so I shan't. There's, of course, Geraldine McQueen, who was a Peter Kay character doing a Christmas song, and it is, of course, one of the kids' favourites because it repeats everything and is very catchy. Well, that's no good. Didn't quite get enough glue under this one.
Fine, you can pop it off.
More importantly, the glue fell down the hole.
That's fine, you can always pop it off and do it again. While the glue is wet, you can just take it off and restick it. PVA is very, very forgiving like that, in a way that super glue, plastic weld and soldering just kind of aren't. Well, soldering you can undo again, that's fairly easy, but plastic weld tends to be fairly permanent. And that's Gary Bott telling us that hydration is important. So once you've fitted those axle box covers, I'm sure we can stop for a hydration break.
I'm sure we can. It's almost like I knocked that off on purpose so you can make that point about PVA, isn't it? Remember, dude, cold dead hands. For those that don't know, Alex has one of the very, very nice C-classes in fully lined out Wainwright livery. I want it. I want it to be mine. I approve of penguins, as do I, James. Fantastic animals. Of course, Gary Bott's after me having a drink, so I best do that. Abolish copyright. Yeah, well, I'd probably get in trouble for allowing that command through, James, to be honest. Nice glass of fizzy non-brand red liquid. Black liquid, red label.
It's 4-star, is it? For our younger viewers who may not even remember this.
Interesting, chat on screen misses out all the things that could be commands. Oh. What that would be, because commands are a Streamlabs feature. Ooh, features. And
it's not a bug, it's a feature.
And the chat on screen is also a Streamlabs feature. So Streamlabs must go, hey, that starts with an exclamation mark. That's a command. Do not print that on screen. Which is very, very nice of it. Polish copyright is not itself subject to copyright. No, but overzealous YouTube. As I see Linny blasting off ahead of us again.
It's fine, I'm doing this mostly so I can check how the kit goes together. As I say, no instructions yet.
C-Class will never leave my possession. My precious.
I think that's been copyrighted as well. On which note?
Parody.
Fair use policies, etc.
Fair use does not exist until you have proved fair use in court, a common copyright fallacy.
Aha. I may be thinking of American copyright law.
No, it is the same in America. I also am not a lawyer, but I do know a few.
Do not take anything that I say about law as gospel or law, for that matter, because I don't know what I'm talking about. In general.
Unless it's the rules of the stream, I do know about those, and as far as I'm concerned, they are law. O1 greater than C. I agree, Killian. I have a part finished scratch built O1 that really does need finishing because they are a fantastic locomotive, but I need to sit and stare at it for many hours to work out how I'm going to do the next steps on it. I approve of features, as do I, James. As a PHP developer, I greatly approve of features. My code is full of features.
Features or bugs?
features. They are all features.
Even the ones you didn't intend.
Some are unintended features, but they are features nonetheless. Alex, not even someone who paid you $1 billion.
We really are having a copyright night tonight, aren't we? On which note?
Again, parody. I'm reading out chat.
Mm-hmm.
You wound me, Killian. And no, Luke. This is why PeerTube is good. PeerTube is a great thing, James. I agree.
Is that not a telescope? PeerTube. PeerTube.
I am very glad you introduced me to the concept that is PeerTube, James. So I would just like to thank you for that whilst you're bringing it up. Hotel booked for next year's show. Well done, Christopher. Is it because I gave you the dates by having this flyer here? Because that is awesome. Literally just taller chimney and different tender on the 01. And the splashers need swapping round. The work on the body is fine. However, I am using a Great British Locomotive static model, which for my C-Class, which I did that way, I used the Airfix 4F chassis, which is tender drive, and the 01 tender does not fit over the motor of the Airfix 4F. So what I need to work out is how I am going to get a chassis under there. I'm not using a Ginty one before you say it, Linny, as I know that worked for yours, because I want the space under the boiler.
So you also don't want the Hornby Loco Drive 4F chassis?
No. Because I want the space under the boiler, which is where I am stuck. I have some ideas, but they are all ideas that need me to sit and stare at them. I approve of coding. Why? Thank you, James. As do I. I must get on and finish my website at some point. I really wish C-Class came out. I could have afforded it. I'd be quids in now. I wish I could have afforded it when it came out as well, Luke, because I would have 3 of them. Happily. All with the same number. Oh, most welcome. Excellent. James, much appreciated. Yes, if you need the feedback. Yeah, I do need the feedback. Because, yeah, I actually put this here as a joke to see if anyone would bring up the fact I still had a flyer here after the show and I could point out it was next year's. But the fact that you have seen it is next year's and used that fact is excellent. And of course we are supporting the Bluebell next year in some way or another, because and there will be some Bluebell themed stuff there, because it is the Bluebell's 70th 75th, I think.
To Google.
Yes, Google. Save the day.
The Bluebell Railway in Sussex.
There was a date at the top there, second paragraph.
1960, it reopened to the public. So it will be there. 60th.
It will be their 60th. So we do need to have the nice Bluebell P-Class on the flyer. When I put Montreal videos up, they will be on PeerTube. Excellent. James, please do let me know when you do. Remote the tender drive with smaller motor. That is indeed one of the plans, Tom. It is a sit and stare at job. What about Knuckles SC 060 chassis 3D printed? Oh, that's a good idea, Corbs. I'll have to look into that. I had not considered that. I will be looking into it.
There is also an etched 4F chassis available from, I think, Brassmasters, which is intended to give... it has quite a high raised motor, which is intended to give under boiler daylight, so that might be an approach, but it's a little bit more involved.
But we don't mind having fun, do we? Double track work for now, need to cut an access hole for the tunnel. Ah, well, Max. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? Get on with it. Matt Higgs got in 60th before we did. Well done. I do like Bluebells, indeed. And first things I saw when I joined the stream, I thought you'd spoken about it already, which is why I didn't. I wish you had, Luke. I wish you had. Other search engines are available. No, they are not. Again, I'm not sponsored, but
thank you. Some of us still use Alta Vista.
no, there is no point using. As a web developer, there is no point using a search engine that isn't Google. Sorry. Always use DuckDuckGo. Okay, DuckDuckGo, which is more privacy friendly, yes. I can't remember where DuckDuckGo pulls its results from. I don't think they have their own algorithms. I'm sure they pull from one of the big ones. Because there are now only two big ones, because Yahoo even pull theirs from Bing now. Because, of course... What a stupid name Bing is. I only ever use Ask Jeeves.
I always thought that Bing stood for Bing is not Google.
There were a few different reasons released, and that may have been one of them. Trust me, some of the others were quite appalling, and I'm not even going to give them the
time of day.
The time of day meant to mention them. Linny, can you remind me, is this SER van the version with wood end pillars or angle iron?
This is an angle iron one. That is probably why these parts are missing from the detailing parts, as I mentioned earlier, the card detailing parts, because they should be angle iron, not flat. So what I will probably be doing is including some Plastruct strip, which is the non-biodegradable part of the kit, everything else being in wood-ish or card.
Oh, and there's me punching the camera again. That was very clever of me, wasn't it? I really need to stop doing that. One day, I will be a professional YouTuber. Or at least I'll act like one. That day is not today. Obviously, fun is greater than pain. I mean, yes. Depends what you're into, but yes.
We don't judge.
Just reading SER Locomotives like Don Bradley here on the O and O1 chapter. Oh, very nice, Killian. Very nice indeed. I will on Wednesday, which will be our building day. Good, Max. I'm glad you will be getting on with it. I think Ecosia pulls from Google. A lot of search engines do pull from Google these days. And again, you know why they pull from Google? Because Google is the best for results. I mean, I really mess up my privacy on Google because I'm logged in. They really spy on me. Terrible idea, that. Don't ever log into Google. I still like how the top search on Bing is Google. Well, only if you search for Google.
No, the top search is the most popular search that people search on Bing is
okay.
Google.
As they should. Google are very evil. How can you say Google are evil, Alex? How can a company whose slogan be "Do no evil" be evil?
Because they've actually changed it. Their slogan is no longer "Don't be evil."
But at the same time, why would that be your slogan if you weren't evil? Most entertaining with a double act, but I'm knackered to been cad all day, so to bed. Cheers, Ian. Good night, Ian. Thank you for joining us. It has been wonderful to have you here.
Indeed, thank you, Ian.
And I am glad you have enjoyed the double act so far.
Well, you can watch it in the morning.
That bears on my supplementary question. V-hanger on both sides. How easy is it to remove all traces of the V-hanger on one side?
On one side of this, so there are engraved markings on the sole bar to help with lining up the V-hanger. So you can chop off the protruding V-hanger and a little bit of filler and away you go. You'll be fine to apply a bit of filler, moisten your finger with whichever solvent works on that filler, wipe it off to just fill in the grooves and you should be absolutely fine. The MDF cuts very easily and it's quite a thin part, so it should be a quick job to remove that. This one being a twin-sided lever, single-sided brake wagon, has the V-hanger on both sides, but only brakes on one.
Right.
So
Linny has raced ahead. Let's have a look at that wagon chassis that you have been working on, Linny, whilst we have been chatting. As you can see, there are brakes, there are V-hangers, there are brake handles. It is all fitted very nicely, very quickly. Linny has
with very shaky hands, you might be better holding this than me.
Linny has just been sat doing that whilst we have been chatting, and working out the best way to do it. Because as we said, this is a test build of the kits. So that has gone very well. So now we are going to jump back in and do some building with instruction from Linny.
So this is our first of our card parts that we're going to use. So the V-hangers are... So the sides are laid out as per the side of the wagon. So you have the door hinges here, the end strapping, and the V-hanger. This is to make it nice and easy to find which bits you're looking for and where they go on the wagon.
That is absolutely brilliant. That is very well done. This is the sort of... When I say Linny's kits are great, this is the sort of thing I mean. That level of care is incredible. Well done, Linny.
Mostly because I build these myself, and if I can't work out where they go, I assume that people who haven't built the kit before aren't going to know where they go either. So I want to make it nice and easy. The idea is that these kits are suitable for beginners and that they don't have anything too complicated to do in them.
That does look splendidly crisp as salt and vinegar.
Oh, lovely. Except we all know that cheese and onion is the way to go with crisps.
Oh, I'm a ready salted man myself.
Oh no. Cheese and onion crisps, bovril, makes a brilliant sandwich.
Right.
So, if you cut out...
I have cut out a V-hanger.
Right. Take your paintbrush, apply glue to the wagon, to the V-hanger.
I'll just tell you that I've dipped that, and there is, you can just about see, even in the poor focus, there's a massive blob of glue. Do not use massive blobs of glue.
So apply it to the V-hanger at the bottom like that, and onto the sole bar as well, as neatly as you can. But if you get a little bit onto the sole bar, it's not the end of the world, because when you paint it, it'll cover up the shiny bit. And then use your tweezers, because you won't be able to see what you're doing if you use your fingers, and you will bend the part.
Don't drop everything though.
So place that over there, use the engraved lines on the sole bar to line it up nice and neatly, and you can press it up until it hits the very slightly overhanging lip of the floor, so it won't slide up any higher, but that will then let it line up nice and neatly. That's the reason there is about a 0.5 millimetre lip on the floor at the top. Press it down with your tweezers and it will dry in place.
Oh, there is a Christopher bullying us into hydration with a command for Garybot. Hydration is indeed important. I was actually thinking it myself, but I only just started modelling again.
One of these days you'll actually finish something on the stream again, but it's good being popular.
It is indeed. It is wonderful. Well, I'm having a great time this evening. I want to thank you all for being here, and I want to thank Linny for being here and providing these wonderful kits for us to build.
Very welcome.
Can't eat crisps, haven't for years. Fair enough, Killian. A lot of people don't. I agree with Gary on the crisp front. Way go, Luke. Seems to have started a crisps war. No crisp wars. Oreos, but then they are not crisps. They are not. They are biscuits. They are, however, very nice. Ready salted are the vanilla of the crisp world. They are indeed Corbs.
Which means that they're an underrated flavour.
But I also like vanilla ice cream. That is my preferred flavour. So, there we go. Does this mean crisp wars? I get to be Switzerland, easily bought out. I'm in neutral. There's no crisp wars. Crisps are best. I mean, they're not always the best. Trust me, they are not always the best. People that have met me know that.
I'm going to pinch your paintbrush for a second.
You are. What am I doing next?
You are lathering, rinsing and repeating on the other side.
Of course I am.
It's almost like wagons are mostly symmetrical. Not entirely, in this case.
Who would have thunk it? The stream is a triumph. It does seem to be. Vanilla's great. Vanilla crisps. Oh, interesting.
And again, I believe there were at one point hedgehog flavoured crisps. At least they were advertised as being... I think they were in Australia and they were advertised as being hedgehog flavoured. until someone actually said to the manufacturer, "How do you know they're hedgehog flavoured? Have you ever made crisps with hedgehog?" And they said, "No." So they went out in search of an indigenous tribe who ate hedgehogs to find out what hedgehog crisps should taste like. And since then, hedgehog flavoured crisps apparently actually taste like hedgehog. Just another bit of the weird and wonderful trivia that lives in Linny's brain.
Here's me thinking this was going down a roadkill route with that story.
No. Rails van is D1424. Yours is D1422 or 1420.
When the angle line came in, ones in H&P circa 1900 photos have wood. I go get some hydration, but I have the cat on my lap. The unwritten rule says once the cat is on your lap, you cannot disturb it. That is very true, Luke.
Accurate.
That is the. I'm pretty sure that's not an unwritten rule. I believe that is a law that has been passed by Parliament at some point. I mean, they've passed worse. Sure, somebody's done that at some point. I agree. Correct, you are now stuck. Yep. Cats are greater than hydration. Catration.
Right. I have had a look into the van drawings, and it appears that mine is a D1422. The D1420 being designed with larger wheels, being the 3 foot 6.5 inch diameter Mansell wheels. This one is intended for the 3 foot 1.5 inch or 12 mil to you and me, 12.5 mil to you and me wheels, which can easily be grabbed from Bachmann, Hornby, Romford, your preferred wheel manufacturer. The D1420 also had a slightly longer wheelbase at 9 foot 4 inches rather than 9 foot exactly. This one was drawn at 9 foot. I say this having pulled up the drawings and the CAD on my computer next to me, whilst Gary is very slowly sitting, fiddling, and not actually continuing with this build.
Well, I'm waiting for instructions.
So, next, remove your brake gear, which is held on by 2 tabs at the top, keeping the knife away from all the delicate fiddly bits of the brake, shoes, rodding, etc.
See how well thought out these are? I'd have never thought of that. I'd have had you cutting along the bottom, and you would have ruined it. And then everyone would have been getting replacement parts, and I'd have been bankrupt. Are we dry fitting this?
That one is a dry. That one is a dry fit. So this is how much I'm happy about my chassis. Is they actually mostly hold themselves together without need for glue. You can always glue them once it's fully assembled and you're happy with it. Especially with brake shoes, I like to do a dry fit so that you can adjust them so that they don't rub against the wheels, because you don't actually want to apply your brakes. Now, as we did with the spring parts, we'll use the tweezers to just gently push it in without applying pressure to the delicate bendy bits, because they bend once, they snap, and then you write me a nice letter saying, "I broke the bit, please can I have another one?"
And then I'd have been making Linny bankrupt as I kept breaking things. This is why we have clever people like Linny to design kits and not me.
Here we go.
And those wheels are still nice and free running as there is not anything touching them.
Excellent.
It's very, very close. But not always rocking a bit. Must have not gone in properly on one side. There we go.
You've pushed that backwards very slightly, so it's rubbing on the wheel flange.
It is indeed, you are correct.
Rock it forward, and when you are completely happy with it, you can place the wagon chassis on its wheels and take your super glue and put a drop of super glue onto just the tab for the brake gear. A single drop,
The cat.
and let it flow in.
Lap Removal Prevention Act 1996, I believe. I think you're right there, James. Yes. My cat doesn't like it when I sneeze. Well then, Luke.
Aww.
Don't sneeze. That is the answer to that. And honestly, I don't know what else you expected to hear from me. Seems to be scared of it. Definitely don't sneeze. That's it, Luke. You are now banned from sneezing.
Better than being banned from cats. So,
Poor sensitive little fuzzy, indeed, James. But it's fine, as long as Luke sticks to that sneezing ban.
So, now that we have got our little spot of glue holding the brakes in place.
Little.
Doesn't matter, it's going inside the van, you won't see it. Well, enough that it will flow in. So you should be doing this with thin super glue.
Yeah, it definitely flowed in. And around and everywhere else.
Fine, you'll get a nice firm, strong joint. That's good. So, we have, you will notice, 2 brake levers. They point in opposite directions. On later wagons, on anything, I believe, well, into the grouping, I forget the exact date, brake levers had to point to the right. So the shunter would always know where to find them. At this point, the law only required there to be a brake lever on each side. So one of them pointed to the left, one of them pointed to the right, and that way they both turned the brake rigging the same way if you push them down. So we need to make sure we get them the right way round.
See, this is where, if Linny wasn't here, I'd be messing it up.
That's what the instructions are for. They will exist.
They will
eventually.
Exist. So which one should I
want?
cut out first?
You want the one that goes up to the right. You want the rightmost one on here. And it's held on by 2 tabs. One underneath the lever and one on the right of the lever guide.
Thanks again, Linny. Sorry for the distraction. Better continue to concentrate about detail of prototype offline. There is no problem with discussion of the prototype here, Stephen. It is, of course, on-topic discussion. I mean, it's more on-topic than cats. But we're not complaining about that, are we? What happens now? My face explodes if I need to sneeze. Yes, Luke. Your face explodes if you need to sneeze. What if you're allergic to cats and they make you sneeze? Don't go around Luke's cat, because Luke's cat is afraid of sneezes. Maybe better than Scar in the adorable fluff bundle. Yeah, I agree, James. Until then, video is the instructions.
Pretty much,
the video is indeed the instructions.
The instructions, because I try to make them very thorough and make sure that it's quite clear what you're doing, they take quite a while to write, because I have to stop and think, well, how might someone misinterpret this, and rewrite it.
And I am at this point going to plug my previous streams that are back in time, which for some reason back in time is that way. I don't know why back in time is that way, but it is. Because we did have a look at the instructions for Linny's Stroudley four-wheelers when we built one on the stream. So you can see just how thorough they are, and they are excellent instructions. In fact, at this point, I could also plug your website again, as they are downloadable from the website.
As indeed are the instructions for the Stroudley van, which has been released already. And we'll give you an idea of what to expect from the wagon instructions.
So, if you want to check out Linny's website, it is !Linny in the chat to give you a link. Don't know if my cat is afraid of anyone else it sneezes. Well, we don't want to find out, Luke, because we don't want to be scaring the poor thing. Sounds like some IKEA furniture assembly is needed for inspiration. Very similar stuff, Code Monkey. It is, honestly. No, it's just getting a bit complicated. Easier to send Linny Huntley and Palmer's photos. You can see exactly which version I'm after. The biscuits deserve prototype fidelity. They do, Stephen. You're quite right.
Do approve a bit.
Back in time is that way because cassette recorder controls always had rewind with arrows pointing left and play and fast forward with arrows pointing right. Of course it is, James. And there is the Linny spam. We love the Linny spam. Thank you, Alex.
Do indeed like the Linny spam.
So, I have my wagon. Right. I have my brake lever.
You now want to apply a spot of PVA glue to the bottom of the V-hanger on the wagon with your paintbrush.
Which I was definitely prepared with and didn't have to look for. There's a spot of glue on the bottom of the brake hanger.
And you want to apply to the back of the brake lever at the top, which is, say, this corner here.
So on there.
Yes, along the whole length of the handle, so along here and at the top. Perfect. Pick up your brake lever in your tweezers. And carefully line up the end with the bottom of the V-hanger.
Now you can see I've made a faff of that. You can also see I'm not rushing to correct it because of course PVA gives you time. That one actually wasn't on purpose, that was me genuinely messing it up, by the way. Unlike some of the earlier mess ups that may have been on purpose to show how PVA works.
Of course it was. Of course it was.
Zoned out when cats were mentioned, heard my services were required. And they were very much appreciated, Alex. Am I right in saying that Linny gets inspiration from Lego instructions?
Lego instructions, yes. Also IKEA instructions. Both very, very good, clear instructions, picture-based. Although I do also add written instructions because it's not just a push part in until it fits. For some of it. For the chassis it is. I could do the chassis with just picture instructions. But I like to have some writing as well, tell people what they're doing.
Well, we're taking a guess here at poking out the other brake lever.
Yep. And that goes on the other side.
Oh, I'm shocked. So, I am guessing on the prototype these handles point one to the left and one to the right, essentially.
Yes, so that when you push one down, it turns the rod across the middle of the wagon, not modelled here. Quite hard to laser cut that, but you can do it with a bit of wire. So that when you push...
Bits of brass wire, in fact, would do it brilliantly.
So when you push the lever down to the right on one side, the lever on the other side goes down to the left.
So we are just repeating what we did before. We're going to try and not mess it up and need to correct it this time. I make zero promises of that. But there we go, that has dropped in quite nicely. And do you know why that dropped in quite nicely? Because Linny's designed such a fantastic kit. It's not my skills, trust me. There we go. We have brake gear fitted.
We have a complete chassis now. All is going well.
Poor little Frady cat, indeed, Jen. Yeah, Gary Bot wants you to donate. Other plastic building block toys are available. I'm not sure why you use any others. It's actually, Luke. They are available, but why would you not use Lego?
Right. So, whilst you have been assembling the chassis, I have been powering ahead and have fitted the sides, meaning that we now have something that looks almost van-shaped. So...
It doesn't look much like my van.
Yes, but it does contain somewhat less rust than your van.
I'm sure the real ones also contained less rust than my van.
Well, being
Don't
yes.
tell Luke my van has rust.
Oh dear, oh dear.
So, at this stage, I'm going to take a guess here because, of course, Linny's kits are quite simple. And having seen the next step, I am going to guess that we apply glue along this lip here and position it like so, with something sat in here to ensure that we are getting a straight edge. And because we are using Linny's wonderful laser cut kits, you could even use one of the sides to do that. You could use a corner of the sprue. These are all valid options. So Linny, have I got that right?
Almost. We are going to fit it there, but we're going to use super glue instead of PVA. And we're not going to apply the super glue until the part's in place. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the part and hold it, as you said, in position. We will use our square thing to ensure it is square and line it up with the ends of the chassis.
Of course.
And then we will apply a nice blob of super glue from the inside, just a small drop.
So here we are going to take our super useful sprue, and we're going to put the knife through it and cut a corner off.
In fact, if you want to, you can actually glue that on the inside of the wagon as you're assembling it to make sure that it stays straight.
You could. That is a very good idea. And is another advantage of the kit. Like, I've got a free.
You've got four free right-angled corner pieces to ensure that everything's built nice and square. Or rectangular with a round roof, but we all know what we mean.
I approve of the van shape, made face-to-face NCL model trains, got 12. The arrangement of brake levers was disapproved by the Board of Trade, not Gary Bot, as one brake could be released from the opposite side to which it was applied. 2 lever facing left on the side like the Great Western DC1. Comments and 15 likes. Come on folks, one more round of like button smashing to show your support for the marvellous team hosting this stream. Thank you, Alex. Very much appreciated. Hello, UK Train Spotting. Welcome to and Swiss cheese your van. No, it doesn't, Luke.
It won't do when it's
No,
mostly the windows.
The transit is wonderful.
I mean, it doesn't.
I'm sure. Great reference, Killian. We actually sat and watched Titfield Linny to white metal solder.
So the way I normally do this is I would take that and apply, take away the L angle for a second, apply a blob of glue just above one axle guard, just above one W iron.
Not sitting straight in the right place yet. So we're going to apply it here.
Yep, just one drop there. You should have a few moments to adjust it. So a nice large blob, that's it. Then use your right angle to ensure everything's square. Hold it for a few seconds, maybe blow on it to just speed up the setting of the super glue. Or if you're really fancy, buy an aerosol of super glue accelerator spray, although you'll need another hand to spray it whilst you're holding everything.
Now, unfortunately, my physical form only comes with 2 hands.
Other physical forms also available. Consider visiting the body shop.
Having dropouts. Oh, lag is not good. Is the lag better? Seems okay. Fine now. Excellent. There was a lot of lag. The transit is wonderfully rusty. No, I'm sure that's not what the MOT man will say.
Rustic, not rusty.
Yeah. I'm sure that's the word he'll use. I am glad we are back. I hope we didn't miss too much to the lag. If there is anything we think we may have missed,
let us know and we'll say it again.
Or even possibly do it again.
Possibly.
We did mention that we need to go and watch that once this stream is over, because you shouldn't leave this stream because YouTube watch. And in fact, whilst at the Arc, plenty for upcoming projects. I take it I'm now going to apply a bit more glue to the other side now that we have it straight. You can now run a bead along
the whole side if you so wish.
Ooh, very, very, very much glue. Much glue, very thick.
Wow, that dates us.
It does. Lag again? Oh. That is not good. So, Linny, what's next?
We've got another side to fit. We'll let that set for a few moments.
Oh, my test screen went completely black there for a second. If that did that for you, I do apologise. YouTube is, of course, YouTube. I don't think I need to say any more. I think we all know that YouTube is indeed YouTube.
So We have another side, but before you fit the other side, we have another part to cut out.
Now, I'm looking at this sprue and being told there's another part to cut out. I don't think I'm going to need Linny's instruction as to which part it is I need to cut out. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out what is my guess at the part I need to cut out. Bravery, I know, just diving straight in there. And now we have another sprue with nothing on it.
And another couple of corner useful bits. Right.
Indeed.
So, what we're going to do is we're going to place the other side onto the floor, first of all. Place it onto the floor. And those two little notches that we had in the top of the sides are there to accept a little spacer that will hold everything the right distance apart. No, a little bit. No, there's a little lip at the top. That's the bit that goes into the slots there.
Okay, so the lip goes into the slots. I was going to try and claim I knew what I was doing because I was looking over at your kit. Obviously, that's now out the window. I clearly don't know what I'm doing. The secret is out the bag. Oh, look at that. Holding itself together beautifully. There's no glue on that spacer or this side yet. And it is just holding itself together.
Lovely, lovely. So you can now run a bead of glue along the inside.
What else would YouTube be? Good, fluffy. It could be either of those things. Unfortunately, it's YouTube.
So run a bead of super glue, or a couple of drops of super glue, just to hold the parts in place along the bottom. And a very small drop onto the two ends of the stretcher at the top. It being thin super glue, it will probably just flow in quite nicely and everything should stick solid.
And these are now so free running, I'm having trouble keeping it up there. All I did was turn it around and it ran away from me. Again, compliments to the designer.
No compliments necessary, I just followed the standards, for which there are standards for 00 gauge axles. So,
Yeah, I'm aware there are.
and
But
these manufacturers also follow them.
Yeah, I've built kits by other manufacturers. So, compliments to the designer for following the standards. Don't know what you're doing. Join the club. Yes, indeed.
Right.
Indeed, Alex. None of us actually know what we're doing. It's all a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Linny might. I don't. Clearly.
So, now, this is going to be a slightly more complicated step, because we're going to use two different types of glue for this, just to make it a little easier. You can just super glue the ends on at this point, but that doesn't allow for very much adjustment. So what I'm going to do is put a few very small spots of PVA glue on, just to sort of rest the end on, and I suggest that Gary does the same.
Now, I am again copying Linny here. I have sat and watched what they have done for the blobs of super glue and where they have put them.
Blobs of PVA glue.
PVA, yes. This wagon does not want to stay on its end. It very much wants to be able to roll away from me. What I should have done first was cut out the ends, because I can't very well glue them on without doing that, can I? Followed you on Instagram. Okay, well, thank you very much, Max. I do have an Instagram. GaryBot has mentioned it. There is a command for it. Probably exclamation mark Instagram. That would make sense, but I did set up the command, so who knows. Remember, we don't talk about certain types of standards here. Do we not? Your name is Max's Model Railway on Instagram. Well, I thought your name was just Max, to be honest, Max. But I do see your name as Max's Model Railroad in Max's... all these other things. But I assumed your name was just Max, not Max's Model Railway on Instagram. That's quite a long name. Is that on the birth certificate?
So once you've got that lined up, and you can check where the marks are for the strapping at the bottom, and make sure that you're happy with how the end fits in at the top as well. Once you're happy, you can let that set for just a little bit, and then we'll apply super glue from the inside. So it gives you the adjustment time of the PVA, but the quick solid join of the super glue, which, being thin super glue, actually sticks the MDF nice and quickly, but soaks in, so it's a nice strong joint.
That's why it's good to be able to do much of the assembly without wheels in. Yes, Stephen, you do make a very good point there. It can't run away from you if it has no wheels in it. And Gary Bott again says, hydration is important.
It is indeed important, Gary Bott. And that will be next step.
No, I get the joke though. I'll tell you what that is. Ironically, it's longer than that. Oh, awesome. I must be honest, Max, I do actually quite like long names. Mm-hmm. I don't have one though. My full name is literally 8 letters.
So pick it up and probably rest your finger against the end, or it will do that.
No, it won't. It'll never do that.
So line it up.
Lies.
You might need slightly bigger glue blobs. It depends.
I believe that is the issue. I was wondering that already.
Mm-hmm. Did you also press the end down onto the glue to get a nice stick?
I did slightly, but not as much as I had some certain other parts. The glue does not look overly disturbed here.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of bits, well, one bit did, but...
It's only a temporary joint with the PVA at this point.
And do you have a middle name? Everyone has a middle name, Luke. I know a long name guy, goes by Miles.
Oh. That's the longest word in the English language, isn't it? Smiles, because there's a mile between each end.
Yep. No, Luke, I do not have a middle name. My full name is just 8 letters long.
Funnily enough, I don't have a middle name either, so join the club.
We get a club. Awesome.
Yeah, we have t-shirts. They don't match or anything, but we just all own t-shirts.
Now, I'm failing miserably at this.
Alright, well.
So,
on.
I'm going to Gary Bodge it.
Hold it in place
by holding it in place.
That's exactly what I would suggest.
And running the glue down the inside.
Don't even run it, just put a drop.
Whilst also trying to position in front of the camera so that you can see it. Because occasionally I do the professional YouTuber thing.
Well, letting people see what you're doing?
Yes.
It's much easier to just present them with a finished model and say, well, here's one that someone else, I made.
I have a middle name, I don't like it. That's unique. Right, isn't it 7 Gary Oak? I thought it was Gary Lightning. You did indeed think that, Corpse. That was, yeah. It's actually what my name was on something. I liked the name Gary. Yeah, thanks, Luke.
All of these wonderful names, none of which are your name.
No. That I can safely remove.
And then you can rinse, repeat, and do the other end. Assuming it doesn't roll off the workbench.
Fun fact, everyone, I have adjustable legs on this workbench and it's still at an angle.
But it's always a sign of how free running your wagons are. When you think that something's level, you put it down, it turns out it's not.
Indeed, my Dapol wagons, as an example, do not run away on my workbench.
We're lacking again. That's a pity. I see that you are, in fact, actually called Dave, like the rest of us.
Of course I'm actually called Dave. Everyone knows I'm Dave. How do you know I'm Dave? Because I'm building model railways.
Mm-hmm. Thus, you are a Dave. Even if an honorary... Even
Honorary.
one of them Daves, you are still a Dave.
Like you... Not a Soviet fighter, that is lag. It's actually called Dave like the rest of us. Indeed, Dave, I am called Dave. Thank
Correction,
you, Dave.
not all railway modelers are called Dave. In Australia, they're called Bruce.
Oh, I mean, does that even need saying?
This is only because... Alright, Dave. Well, yeah, we could... You know what? If you ever have another kid, you'll have to call them Rodney after Dave.
So we are doing our rinse and repeat section of the end, and we're going to try and do this one properly.
You're called Christopher. In answer to your question.
I say it's probably a joke even when it's not funny. That's kind of how I talk as well, Code Monkey. I talk in joke form constantly. No one ever gets it though.
Nobody gets me.
I got a Dapol wagon to roll freely once. Are you a wizard, Luke? I want to say it now, but that really is definitely copyrighted.
I'm a what?
I want to do the voice as well, because I can do that.
Well, just Dave. You are a wizard. Oh dear.
Right, Dave. Yeah, I'm good, Dave. How are you, Dave? Hey, hang on. Building aircraft kit. What am I called? Yeah, you're definitely Christopher. Gary, Dave, like, you know, it's got a kick to it, wouldn't you think? I agree, yes, that's an excellent name. I believe that is now my legal name.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was about to say, look at that, we've got it to stay, and then it fell off. Of course it did.
Okay.
It knew I was going to say it. Because in case you didn't know this, everyone, model railway kits are, in fact, psychic. Every single one of them. They know when things are going well. They know when you're about to say they're going well. So that they can mess it up. I'll move back round this side of the camera so you can see what I'm doing again.
So there is one change still to be made to this kit, which is that the floor will have two prongs sticking out, which will fit through two holes in the end, thus holding the end in place in the correct location for you to assemble it.
What a wonderful change to make to the kit.
This will make it much easier to assemble.
It will make it much easier indeed. Plug that back in there for a second. Yes, I'm a wizard and I can provide video evidence. Awesome, Luke. I want to see that video evidence. I don't get the reference. Harry Potter. Yeah, it's a Harry Potter reference, Alex. It's
There's...
said by someone quite tall with a big bushy beard.
You mean a great big bushy beard?
I do indeed. Our model railway kit's called Dave.
No, they're called wheels.
Yeah,
they're all wheels.
They're all wheels.
Dave, you're going to go to one field, you'll get a kit, you'll get some paint, it'll go in your wagons. Deal with it. Excellent, Code Monkey. I wholeheartedly approve. Oh, yeah.
And there we go.
Alex gets the reference at that.
Now I get the reference. I get Linny.
So, we are very nearly. We are not going to put the roof on just yet. But what we'll need for the next step is a little bit of wire or a pin. Because we have a slightly...
We all know we have the famous crystal pin.
We have a little fiddly bit to do. So you will want to put on your glass sheet a drop of super glue. We are then going to smear that around the inside of the holes in the buffer beam for the buffer. So that we don't glue our nice sprung buffers solid.
You sprung buffers.
Now,
remember, we are not sponsored. However, what brand of sprung buffers would you recommend, Linny?
So for this, I am using Bachmann sprung buffers purely because they can be got fairly easily at most model shops. There do exist more accurate buffers out there, which may or may not be sprung. More accurate for this wagon. There will be full details in the instructions. I cannot remember offhand exactly whose buffers they would be. They are ribbed buffers with round ends, but I will include details. For now, these Bachmann sprung buffers, they're turned metal, they work very nicely, they're softly sprung, and they have a standard shank size, which means that you can fit pretty much any sprung buffer to the wagons, and they should just fit.
Right, and before we carry on, good night, Tom. Thank you for coming. It has been great to have you here this evening.
Indeed.
And it was great to meet you at the greatest model railway show on earth.
Indeed. It was lovely to meet you today, Tom, and good night, good night, good night.
Speaking of Harry Potter, I know Richard Harris's great niece drove past his house every day. Awesome. Yeah, night, Dave.
Good night, Dave. So, a smear, a drop of super glue on your glass workbench.
No. I do not put super glue on my glass on purpose.
It scrapes off nicely when you're done to keep your workbench clean.
I'm sorry, clean. Have you seen my
Alternatively,
workbench?
you can take a piece of your scrap MDF and use it as a pallet.
I use the workbench itself, which is...
This is fine because you have a workbench. For those of us who model on the kitchen table, I can highly recommend not leaving blobs of super glue, especially if you live in a shared flat.
If you model on the kitchen table, though, please do get yourselves a cutting mat.
Mm-hmm.
I can cut into my MDF workbench quite happily and not have to worry about it. I can spread glue and filler and everything else all over it.
Mm-hmm. So you want a very small, we want quite a small amount, you don't want a big drop, and you want to smear it all around the inside of the hole, and then carefully insert the buffer, trying not to get it...
stuck to the wagon, isn't that glorious?
Trying not to get the glue onto the bit at the end that protrudes, but just slide it into the hole. Oops.
That was me unsticking myself.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently a lot of music that I used to do on the early fans come about heard recognise the instrument that I haven't heard for a while, getting a nostalgic feeling. Jazzy type music also. I'm always said, does that mean I get to meet Emma Watson? No, Luke. There, as Christopher says, there is most definitely a queue.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome to join the queue.
I feel like there's a terrible Star Trek reference there, but that's
Could
getting more and
3D
more
printed buffers be a future option?
They could indeed. However, 3D printed buffers tend to be somewhat brittle. So, what might end up happening is 3D printed buffers being made available, but they would not be suitable for use with scale couplings, and I would be worried that they would break off.
The good news, however, is if I reach over here, I do in fact have, that I can show you all. Oh, it's going to have to be this hand. A pair of 3D printed buffers when the focus decides it's going to focus. Being round things, they're quite easy to roll, so I don't really want to put my hand up. There we go. 3D printed Stroudley buffers.
Stroudley carriage buffers, yes. Long joint ones, so the early type. And as Killian points out, I have 3D printed buffers for his Jenny Lind model, but they are the leather padded ones, so they are cylindrical almost. They don't have that long, narrow buffer shank.
So I'm going to tip this over.
And the buffers are going to fall out.
We're going to take bets on whether the buffers fall out. So I thought this was an open plank wagon, not a box van. No, this is a box van, Max. Those may be the greenest buffers I have ever seen. They are quite green, aren't they, James? Let's see what happens with these buffers as I tip it over. Do they fall out? Does anyone win a prize by betting they fall out?
Nobody wins a prize because there isn't a prize.
And the reason there is no prize is because they stayed in. Because I followed the Linny method.
Which will be documented in the instructions, funnily enough. Because I like to give nice, thorough instructions that actually tell you what to do.
I've even got it all the way upside down and they're not falling out.
Correction, the Dave method, not the Linny method.
Of course, the Dave method.
And yes, they are green buffers because they were printed in a green resin, which is the material, the sample material that my 3D printer came with. I am not yet at the point of being able to offer 3D printed kits, but I'm getting there with 3D printed components. So I could look into buffers, maybe roof vents for ventilated vans, that sort of thing. The D1422 van that this is based on often had ventilators on the roof, so the plan would be to include some 3D printed roof ventilators to go with. Possibly an alternative roof with the holes already drilled in it, so that everything just fits into the right place.
And there goes the brake lever because I caught it on my finger. Because what's happened here is I have messed up this buffer.
Is it not quite straight?
It's quite tight, and I'm more inclined to think that I've got some super glue on it rather than a fault in the buffer, to be honest.
It's a possibility.
Because, of course, no matter how easy you make a kit, there comes a point where fiddly things have to happen, and they can and will go wrong.
It is often the way.
Yes. Well, that is now stuck, pushed all the way in, which is a shame. However,
what you can do is once it has set completely, you can get in there with a pair of pointed tweezers and probably gently lever the head up. But you want to let it set
you
first.
do indeed, but not only could you do that, it is prototypical that you could have a buffer stuck in from a heavy shunt. Not every bit of rolling stock is going to be in perfect condition. So, for the sake of having some variation in stock and being able to point that fact out to people if it is ever shown, I am going to stick this in with the buffer head stuck in.
I will ask for that pin so that I can do the same on my wagon.
Not like you to put static buffers on a kit. I haven't put static buffers on a kit. These are sprung buffers, Max. Excellent. Huntley and Palmer Photos vans have the roof vents, also Mansell wheels.
So those will be of the other diagram with the slightly larger wheels and the longer wheelbase. I am sure I could be convinced to slightly edit the CAD work for this to produce the exact diagram you need. I believe that all of the body was exactly the same apart from the end trussing.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it is 11:35. I'm going to take this moment to remind everyone hydration is highly important, and I'm going to finish off what is in the hydration vessel. Because, of course, it is very important to keep yourself fully hydrated to be able to carry on doing stuff like this and keep a steady hand. That's service, says Stephen. While looking at the aforementioned wagon, I found 4th class 3, but there is a slight problem. And what would that problem be, Luke? Right. And what is our next step
Have you
then?
fitted the other buffers to the other end?
I have.
So let us have a comparison shot. Because between the two of us, we have built 2 wagons nearly. We still have the roof to add, the strapping details. Basically, we've done all of the wooden bits. We just need to add all the little card details.
Which again, we can see here, and Linny has laid them out as they go on the side of the wagon.
And above those parts, as Luke points out, there is no roof yet, but that is the roof. Now this part will need forming, because unfortunately the laser cutter can't curve it for us.
But that is where I mean, I had it earlier. I had it at the start of the stream.
What you will require is something cylindrical. I personally have a piece of brass rod. I have, however, formed roofs on chair legs if they're made of metal tube. I have done it around pretty much anything cylindrical that's small enough.
Of course, as we have seen before,
What we have here is a cardboard
I have
tube.
a cardboard tube I use,
That will do
which
just
is
about.
what I used for Linny's Stroudleys.
But I cannot see what you have done with the brass one.
Neither can... Oh, there it is.
It is rolled onto the floor.
It's a rather heavy bit of brass, that.
So, what we can do, I like to leave the roof until the very end, personally. So what we can do, we can start applying the strapping to the sides.
That sounds like a fantastic idea.
I see we still have 20 minutes until midnight.
We do indeed have 20 minutes left and 15 viewers. It is absolutely brilliant. Thank you all for being here. You are wonderful people.
So, if we take these strapping parts, which are here, one at a time, and we will see which bits fit where, because there are markings on the body shell and on the strapping. So,
Just quickly repairing the brake lever that I caught with my finger when trying to sort out the buffer that I messed up.
if you find that the end of the brake lever moves, you can always put a small drop of super glue on it, which will hold it in place because it soaks nicely into the wood and the card. So if you find you have any joints that do come apart, that's always an option.
Could we just appreciate how far the stream has come? We're nearly episode 30. We have 17 watching and a host. It doesn't get much better than that. Thank you, Harry.
Indeed, thank you. Yeah.
I am very glad you are enjoying the stream, and it has come a long way. And I do enjoy being here with you all, able to do this and have you here enjoying it. It does mean a lot to me. And of course, Linny is only a guest co-host for this evening. I'm sure there will be more opportunities for us to work together in the
I
future.
hope so, yes. But unfortunately, distance does preclude me coming down here every week.
It does, unfortunately. However, I am not opposed to guest hosts, should there be anyone out there who can get here more often. So, Linny, what would you advise to be the first bit of the strapping we try?
So I would suggest we start with the door hinges. The end strapping, which is the very tall, long bits at each side, can be added last. But we'll start off with just doing the bits for one side. So if you start off with the top door hinges, and just cut one out at a time. That's it. Then apply glue to the wagon side with your paintbrush, using the markings that have been put on there to line everything up nicely. And you should just find that it all fits in place with the markings showing you where it goes.
What helps is if you don't put one tool down on top of the next tool you want to pick up.
You can also, for these kits, if you would prefer not to be applying all of these tiny little bits of card, you can use the markings on the side, and once you've painted the body in its body colour, if you want to pick out the strapping, you can do that with paint without having to glue all these tiny little bits of card on, but the card does give it some nice relief.
Must be hard keeping it up every week. You know what, Killian? It can at times be very hard keeping it up every week. But you fine people coming along and being here with me makes it worth every bit of effort I put into it. I'd quite like to. Couldn't do every week. Once in a while, maybe. That would be excellent, Luke. That would be great to have you along to do some stuff. You could... Once I get the the proper studio set up, we could, of course, you could do some weathering for us in there and show us your weathering methods.
I shall definitely be watching when that comes up.
Because they are very, you get very, very nice numbers. You wouldn't want me stream numbers would bomb. Not a chance, Christopher. We've enjoyed it equally. Also, can't Linny live under the workbench? I hear it's cosy.
It does look rather cosy under there when it's not full of unbuilt kits, paint, glue and rolling stock. But unfortunately, my work is up in Scotland, so I must go back.
Don't think I'd be cut out for this streaming thing. Seems like too much work. Are you sure about that, Alex? Because I get the impression you put more effort into streaming than I do. What with the fact that you stream 6 times a week, which must be really hard to keep up with and do and keep the energy for. But you are a fantastic streamer and I do enjoy coming to watch you Monday through Saturday at twitch.tv/AlexTheMole at 9:30 PM. You asked for that plug. That's your fault. Prove the things being worth the effort. Yes, I'd love to do that. Excellent, Luke. That sounds like a plan to me. 15 people watching. We'll bring all me web and stuff with me. That sounds fantastic, Luke. That would be.
Look forward to that.
That would be a great thing to do. I would very much enjoy that. Oh, we had an agreement. You asked for that. That was your own fault. Witchcraft, seeing people live that aren't in my room. Yeah, it is witchcraft, Killian. As we all know, all computers run on witchcraft.
So
if anyone tells you anything else, they are liars. Do not trust them. The agreement is you stream and I get banned. Did you? Don't try the command because I can't remember whether I actually remembered to remove it. So do not put in the command because Alex has indeed requested that not to happen. So I do not even want that tested, just in case. I will be getting Linny to remind me to check when the stream is over.
You assume that I will remember that? But I can't even remember what diagram of wagon this is, and I designed the kit. So,
it's a diagram DAVE.
Yes, of course. Dave Railways box van. Well, covered wagon, I think they will call it at the time. Rather than van. I think van hadn't really become the term that was used yet. I think we're going to possibly have enough time to finish one side and one end of the wagon, but I think we might struggle to get all of it finished this evening. I'm sure you can finish off the last little bit of it without me.
Well, I mean, it's possible I can give it a go. But of course, the great thing is, with streaming, means you can be here with me, even if you're actually in Edinburgh,
just with
at the other end of the pipes.
Yeah, just a little bit of the YouTube lag to deal with.
Oh, Garybot, plug in my Twitter. Well, hey, thank you, Garybot. I won't. Thank you, Max. Appreciate it. I'll remind you. Excellent, Christopher. Neglected to ask what prototype this is, actually. Well, Killian, it is...
It's a South Eastern Railway van, an 8-ton van. There's a diagram 1422 with the outside frames, and it is... So these vans then continued into the South Eastern and Chatham when that was formed in 1899. The South Eastern Railway merged with the London, Chatham and Dover, giving the South Eastern and Chatham Railway. And so this wagon then lasted, I believe some of them lasted into the Southern as well. I would have to double check that. In fact, no, I know for a fact some of these survived into the Southern Railway, because I got them from a book of pre-grouping wagons that survived into Southern Railway ownership. Is where I got the drawing. I don't know that any of them lasted to BR days, unfortunately.
Van seems to have been used for specialist vehicles, meat van, banana van, ordinary merchandise, covered goods wagon.
Good shout there, Stephen.
Pipe's a bit dirty on my end, but you're coming through well enough. Glad we are coming through. We seem to be having some slight issues this evening. I wouldn't blame it entirely on your end, because of course it has been raining here in the UK, so BT's pipes are struggling with getting a clean, because, you know, we wouldn't want them to be running through waterproof trunking or anything. No, that would be way too much to ask. And what's worse is I had that cable replaced about 2 years ago. Stupid BT.
So is that you completing that
Closing
side?
there. Right here, right period, I approve. I thought you would, Killian. It's the UK, it rains. Indeed. I mean, right region, right era. Yeah, right era and right period, yes. I knew what you meant, Killian. Maybe it was too waterproof before, yeah. UK is typically weather prone, good for crops. Indeed it is. It is me finishing the door hinges.
Yep. Excellent. So we can move on to. Have you done the lock in the middle? Yes.
I have.
So we can move on to the end.
Which, of course, I knew where to place the lock because not only are these wonderfully laid out as they go on there, but there is also patterns on the wagon showing how they go on.
It's almost like I planned it.
Almost. We wouldn't want to accuse you of that now.
Fair enough. Next you'll be accusing me of being incompetent, and that's a whole different thing. So, what we're going to do next is take one of the end strapping pieces, and if you pick one of those, I will talk you through what to do with it in a second. If you just chop it off of the... off of the card that's holding it in place. And this one is a little bit more fiddly to do, a little bit more complicated. Because it actually needs the PVA glue to dry before you can finish fitting this part, oddly enough.
God, that was going to take forever. PVA glue drying. Right.
So what you need to do is apply glue along the marked lines there, so it goes along the side. Now, which side of... So first of all, which part have you cut off? Right, so...
I know what side I've cut off, to be correct, because, of course, they are laid out brilliantly.
So you wish to apply glue along here.
I do indeed, yes.
Along these two horizontals, which is this part, and up there. And then glue the strapping on there. The strapping wraps around onto the side, but we're not going to bend it until the PVA glue has dried completely solid. Otherwise, we will just lift it off the bit we've glued on. So we will leave that with two bits sticking out of the side, with the extra vertical at the bottom.
So just like that, everyone.
And then when it has dried, which will probably be, well, which will be after the stream has finished, unfortunately, what we will do is we'll take those bits sticking out of the side and we will just bend them around the corner and glue them onto the side where there are still more markings showing where it goes.
I know a little goes a long way, but that really is a small amount. Yes, you do not need lots of glue.
Right, there are... Speaking of a little, we're going to take the lamp irons from the end, which are these lovely tiny little rectangles on the side. And we're going to...
I mean, you're looking at that next to my finger and knife blade. You can see just how tiny these are.
So, for the lamp irons, you can just use... You can use the card parts that I've provided, or if you wish, you can use staples or a bit of bent wire through a drilled hole to represent it. But, seeing as we're just building this kit as it comes, we'll just cut out the lamp irons.
One at a time so we don't lose them.
Because they are tiny. And we will glue them on the ends where they are marked on the end.
Now, Linny's not done this yet, so I've not been able to spy on what Linny's doing. Which I have done with pretty much every other part, as Linny has been ahead.
Mm-hmm. Tweezers are somewhat essential for this bit, really, because of just how tiny the bits are.
And even then, I am still struggling to get it round straight.
is somewhat fiddly, I will admit. These parts are strictly optional. I'm also finding
Those are tiny. They are indeed, Max. And yes, you are correct. We have 5 minutes left.
But once we've got these on, it's just a rinse repeat. The other side and end, and away you go.
LCDR greater than SCR in every way except financially, in my humble opinion, says Killian. I do like the LCDR. I actually have an RTR bash that I'm going to be making an LCDR loco at some point. And because I can, it's going to be painted in LCDR livery.
I shall very much look forward to seeing that when it's done. Or indeed watching you do it. If you do it on stream.
I will most likely do it on stream because, of course, the more projects I do on stream, the longer I have stream projects for. And there we go, the lamp irons are on. Those are seriously, they are unbelievably teeny.
But as I say, those are strictly optional. And you can just paint them on. If you're doing it in Southeastern Railway livery, which is red oxide with black ironwork, you could just paint them on with a very fine paintbrush, not have to fit them at all, and they'd probably look just as good on a train running fast.
Now, if you are the sort of person that knows me, you will know that I am not very patient.
You can try folding that over if you would like.
And you will find that by not being patient, I have learnt ways of doing things that, although not strictly correct, do let me get slightly faster.
But
they are not always good ideas.
For sticking them down, I would actually have suggested not PVA, but superglue. But you can use PVA and then just hold the part down while the PVA sets. The superglue obviously grabs a little bit quicker. And you know it's aligned because you've already lined it up when you were first applying it.
So yes, if you want to experiment with cheating, always do it on a kit you know that isn't going to cost you an arm and a leg if you break it. Because cheating is a way to very quickly break things.
I noticed that the PVA is not sticking particularly well, so I would suggest a tiny smear of super glue the next time you want to do that. Should hold it down nicely.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is 12 o'clock. We have ticked over. Roll on the Europa. Indeed, Killian. I cannot wait for the Europa. It is a fabulous looking locomotive.
Agreed, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing that as well.
Linny, they may have survived as garden sheds. They may well have done. Certainly possible. So, as I say, everyone, it is now 12 o'clock. We have come to the end of the stream. We have two very nearly finished wagons here. We, of course, would have finished them had we not have been chatting so much, but, well, you people are too fabulous for me to not chat to.
Agreed. It's been absolutely wonderful for the company. Thanks all for chatting away with us.
Killian says it has been great having Linny. See you on the next one. Indeed, Killian. See you next time. Stephen says good night, everyone. Very interesting. Good night, Stephen. Europa sounds good. Night, Max. Good night, Killian. Garybot wants us to hydrate. Garybot, it's the end of the stream. Sorry. We'll save that for next time. I'm sure we'll hydrate then. It's an excellent stream. Smash like, check chat post stream to ensure certain command was not put in. Oh, I know the command wasn't put in. I want to make sure it doesn't exist in my list of commands anymore. Night, have a good one, Matt. Splendid wagons. Night all, says Matt Higgs. So, yes, you have all been absolutely fantastic, everyone. I have loved having you here. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for hosting me, and thank you all for joining us both.
So,
it's good night from him. You've done it right.
I was trying to start it and then...
Oh, never mind. Anyway,
yeah.
It's good night from me.
And it's good night from them.
Good night. We'll get there in the end.